Ready? Ready?
Ready.
Okay. Okay, welcome to the new and exciting Select Board meeting on May 6th. This meeting's going to be recorded. Katie's running a little bit late, so she should be here in a couple minutes, but we're going to start and get things going. And if you would please rise and join us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I did say that the meeting is being recorded, and this is a new era for us. We have two new Select Board members, Mr. Dooley and Mr. Spritz, and we're going to start off with the Town Administrator's report.
Thank you very much. First, I want to welcome the two new members to the board here tonight for your first meeting. I'm looking forward to working with each of you. I've had the pleasure to work with you in your previous roles here in town and other appointed and elected boards, so I'm looking forward to continue to partner with you to make sure we can be working towards great outcomes for the community. As we welcome the two new members, I also want to thank Katie DuPont, our town clerk, and her team, who ran the election that we had last week. It was Katie's first full election here in town with us, and I thought she and the team did very, very well, and I want to recognize the effort of all the volunteers and staff and senior work-off staff that supported that effort, so thank you very much, Katie. Next, I wanted to highlight that we have also kicked off the beach sticker program with the sales this week. We will be shortly introducing the artwork and the artist a little later tonight, but I wanted to highlight some of the effort that's gone into it this week, again with our senior work-off staff, the rec staff, as well as customer service. Just from Monday until today, we have sold over 300 stickers so far. There was a particular rush Monday morning, which I think, if you've been in Town Hall, it was buzzing. We were working very hard to balance the folks that were in Town Hall for transactions other than beach stickers, phone calls, emails, the whole 9 yards. And I thought the team did a really great job. Again, it's a credit to the staff, specifically customer service and the senior work-off staff that are out in the lobby doing everything they can to move those as quickly as possible. So thank you very much for all of that. After the initial kickoff on Monday, Tuesday was also really busy because it was a great beach day. So hopefully this will continue and we'll be able to get as many folks as possible their stickers going forward. One additional item related to the stickers that I just wanted to highlight that's been flagged at Town Hall is that at Fisherman's Beach, the parking restrictions that were put in place last year are now coming back into place, where the sticker is required, I believe, between 5 a.m. and 4 p.m., if I have it correct. Enforcement will be coming shortly. Right now, it's a little opportunity for everyone to get their sticker and sort of make sure we're following all the rules, but that is something to just be aware of, that with May 1st, that has kicked back in as well. One other item related to customer services as a topic that I wanted to highlight is Chrissy Raposo celebrated 20 years last week with the town of Swampscott, which is a great achievement for anyone. But we're particularly lucky to have her, as are all of the dogs that come to visit Town Hall with her treats, because of the effort that she puts in on a weekly basis. She helps keep things moving down there, keeps it light. We're incredibly lucky to have her, and we got together as a group to celebrate her at Town Hall last week, so I wanted to highlight that. On sort of the HR front broadly, I wanted to update that we are in active bargaining with the fire union, the DPW union, and the library. We've had frank discussions and productive discussions with each of them. I anticipate getting together an executive session with the full board so that we can make sure everyone has sort of a baseline of where we are and where we intend to go. And in addition to that, I wanted to highlight on the HR front that I've had some initial exploratory, very broad level discussions on a potential intermunicipal agreement to look at a principal assessor that would be a regional resource as well. I will be coming back to you all with more information on that. We're really not at the point that there's much to report beyond the fact that I'm having some initial discussions, but I wanted to flag for you all that's out there. And then finally, on the HR front as well, the police department has completed their promotional exams, and I'll be sitting with the chief in the coming week to work through his recommendations and then also do interviews of my own, so I'm looking forward to talking about that. One piece that I just want to highlight broadly is in an effort to be as consistent as possible and make sure that we're updating you all weekly, I've asked, and this has been sort of an ongoing discussion with Shannon and others on the board, to make sure that we have sort of a parking lot of lists so that there is nothing that I am missing that we either talk about here in the TA update or that comes up in the course of your deliberations in any given evening, so that we can make sure that we are as responsive as possible to you all. In that regard, there's three quick items that I just wanted to highlight. That a couple were from the previous members of the board that are no longer with us, but I wanted to share with everyone and share with the community. The Fisherman's Beach study was talked about, a request for more information from Doug Thompson. I've talked to Gino about that. I think our best path forward is to actually have Kleinfelder do a full presentation to the full board rather than me giving a brief update. We'll have them here to be able to answer technical questions and provide an update on where we stand. There was also a discussion about the creation of an account for the proceeds of the Pine Street project, where we had initially been looking, I think, end of 25, beginning of 26. In the minutes and in the agendas. In further discussion with KP, it was identified that the discussion happened at the July 22nd meeting last summer. There was a unanimous vote to talk about a special authorized stabilization fund, which would put the money directly from the transaction into an account that was meant to be spent just on improvements to 89 Burrell. That is something that that money, or those monies, will not be coming to us until the CO is certified, so we will have a topic for, or a warrant article rather, for the fall town meeting to make sure that it meets that request and that the board had put forward as a recommended article, and you all will be able to decide on it. But the previous board did vote 5-0 in favor of moving forward with that, so that those monies were set aside for improvements to 89 Burrell. And with that, I am happy to take any questions.
Danielle?
I don't have any, Mary Ellen.
Wayne?
Not at the moment.
Mr. Dooley?
Yes. I was wondering if every month when you give your report, I think Gino did this when he was acting TA, give a report on the permit fees that were being collected by the building commissioner's office.
Sure.
I was hoping you might be able to update us every month or maybe every quarter on the fees that are being collected through that office.
Sure.
That'd be
And
great.
I think, Patrick's here, I think it might, if I can just speak to each of you, maybe today or after this, we can either do a full year-to-date for any fees that are collected, or if there's other things you guys want to identify, we can just make that part of the report.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, we're supposed to be getting quarterly reports on everything, so that would be covered in quarterlies as
Great.
soon as we start getting quarterlies.
Perfect.
I have a couple of questions. Sure. Historically, we would get weekly updates from the TA on what's happening in town, such as there's an issue with the pier, or negotiations are here or there, or contracts are being worked on, whatever it is, but we used to always get a weekly report. And I'm just wondering, could you get us a weekly report? Is that possible?
I can, and if you would like, I can also include it in the packet so that it is posted along with the rest of this information going forward, so
Whatever
with
you
each
can,
meeting.
whatever you can
Happy
do
to.
would be great. The other question, also including anything coming out of State House. At the last select board meeting, you actually said something about sending out updates on police and fire, what's going on. Just when would those be?
I did get those reports this week, and they will be included this week,
Okay.
on Friday of this week.
And the fire chief said that he was going to be, I had requested of the fire chief to give us the update on how many tickets were actually written on
Yeah.
Humphrey Street.
So I actually have that. I was going to mention it during the Cedar Hill portion, because
Okay,
that was
that'd be
where it
great.
came up, but I can give you the rundown right now if you'd like.
Whatever works for you.
It's up to you.
Cedar Hill is good.
Great.
Do you happen to know, do we have a firefighter retire after 30 years? Do you know?
I do not know, to be honest.
Okay,
that's
can you
Chief
just find
Archer.
out if we had
I'd be happy
had
to.
one? Also, are the budgets frozen, or
Yes,
they are, when did they get frozen? 7 weeks ago?
several.
Several weeks ago, okay. And the only, could you speak to the chair of the Board of Assessors, because I think that they have some ideas on what they're looking for?
Of course.
You know, possibly adding a part-time, Board of Assessor in there, or
A second part-time assessor.
second
yeah.
part-time assessor. Yeah, I think that they had some ideas on there. I just want to make sure that they're communicating that to you.
Yeah, and I had a brief discussion with Paul as well to make sure that if we were to do that in the way in which they're currently suggesting, which I would want to post it and not just have
Yeah,
a name suggested to me, but in the
Right.
way they're suggesting, I want to make sure that it's complementary to Paul's skills
right.
and skill set. but also with these initial discussions that I've not even gotten to the point of having an idea to sit down with like a job description with Neil and Charlie and Rich on what the description should look like, but they would absolutely have a role in both the interview and any planning around an intermunicipal agreement as well.
Okay, that's perfect. All right, that's all my questions.
Thank you.
Katie is back.
Has anybody else been asked if they have questions?
Yep,
I'll have-
we're all
Okay.
done. We're on to public comment now,
Very good.
Unless you have any questions for me.
unless you have a question. Right.
Just why people can't drive correctly in the rain is the only question I have. All right, so public comment. Thank you, Mary Ellen. As we all know, public comment is 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address. Nick will be keeping time for us. Thank you. And we can,
Can I ask one question?
Please.
Are we doing public comment separately for Cedar Hill? Are we segregating that part?
no, traditionally, we have taken all public comment in the beginning,
Yep.
and then we talk about the topic, we have our own conversation about the topic, but we do not have the public talking about each of the subtopics unless it's a public hearing.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how we've been doing it. So if you're here to talk on Cedar Hill, then this is also the time for you to speak. Please, approach the mic, your name and your address.
Hi, Board of Selectmen. My name is Albert Williams, and I live at 11 Cedar Hill Terrace in Swampscott. I've lived there all of my life. Basically, I'm here just to talk about an issue that's gone on for quite a while, the parking on Cedar Hill. It's really congested there, and it's a residential street. However, every day, there's 2 to 3 employees from the dentist office that park on the hill, and there's multiple cars. Actually, the upper left part of the hill is basically used as a junkyard at times for the garage on the corner. There's several companies in that garage, but basically that garage. Over time, it's just gotten to be ridiculous. I mean, like, I'm sure a lot of you have come down to the bottom of Cedar Hill and there's cars parked on both sides. And it makes it one lane, and depending on what car is parked on the right-hand side, you might not be able to see the traffic coming from the other way. It's just really dangerous situation at the bottom of the hill that really needs to be addressed is one thing. A few years back, for whatever reason, they put a curb there on the bottom. If you're looking up the hill, the bottom right, there's a curbstone put there. And I'm not sure the reason, but to be honest with you, it probably makes it a little worse because the cars don't go over the curb to park, and it narrows the road even more. But that's just an observation of living there and, over time and seeing what goes on. I mean, other issues, like just getting out of my driveway. I have a boat, I commercially fish part-time, and getting in and out of my driveway with a trailer. If there's cars parked across the street, there's a garage across the street from me, and there's doors in the garage, and, they park the cars in front of the garage doors. So for me to try to make the swing in and out of my own yard to get my boat out, it makes it extremely difficult. I saw the plan that I believe the police came up with. Just to get a little history, on 10/28/24, I had started a conversation with the police, email conversation, and I sent them a petition of the people from the corner of Cedar Hill, Humphrey Street, all the way up to the Sweeney. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 households that are really kind of on Cedar Hill, the main part of it.
30 seconds, sorry.
Oh, okay. I guess if I want to get to the point that was important was, I don't understand the police, or I believe they came up with the idea of having no parking if you're going up the hill on the left-hand side. It's red, and I just really don't understand that portion of it. I think that portion should be made residential, and that's my feelings basically on that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comment, please?
Hey, everyone. It's not as tall as Al. Hi for me. My name's Jim Sweeney, and we're 2 houses up from the Williamses. So our family's been in that house for over 50 years now. So over time, as Al said, particularly on the going up the hill on the left-hand side, it's really become a parking lot for the businesses down the street. It's increased each year. Last summer, there were some cars that were there for not just weeks at a time. There was a couple of cars that were there for literally from Memorial Day till August, 2 or 3 months at a time with out-of-state plates, many of them not registered. They're really just using it as a storage area. And it makes the street very narrow. And so it's really, that's for the kind of, apart from the bottom part of the street, which is a safety problem, that's a safety problem too, in that it makes the street very narrow. And they're there for literally weeks and months at a time these last few years. And so I wouldn't have any problem with it being resident only on that side, because a car or two over there isn't a problem, but it was the whole length of the street really all summer, except for the midwinter, really the last couple or few years. And so it makes the street very narrow. Cars come around that corner quickly. Some of them stop at that stop sign from Bayview, some of them don't, and it becomes very narrow. A little bit hard for us to back out sometimes, not quite as much as a little bit further down, but it can be a little bit tough. The bottom of the street is really a safety problem, as Al said, that it really becomes one lane because cars park on both sides. Mainly they're the ones from the garage too. Many times big ones from the garage, and you can't see. So if you're coming down the hill and a car is coming on Humphrey Street and taking, say, towards Fisherman's Beach and taking a right, if they're coming around at all quick, they're right on top of you beforehand. So I've been down there, the cars, like it's coming, they're like, geez, stop before you, because they don't see you necessarily because this car's parked right there. And it's really hard to see cars coming from the Fisherman's Beach end because cars park along Humphrey Street there all day, right up to the corner. So you're kind of edging out all day, like inch by inch, and hoping that they're trying to see around so a car doesn't come along. So I know I have, and I think probably others in the street too, we as much as possible avoid kind of going down the hill to get out and going up and around just because of that safety issue. So both for for that side being kind of limiting it to residents, I think would be great, and then to not have parking down at the bottom so that there's the 2 lanes there.
Okay, you have 30 seconds left.
Okay, I think that's about, the only other thing is that I don't know if there's a town bylaw or anything on this. I think on the other side there's like when you come to a corner, there's usually a certain amount of feet that you have to park back from the corner, so you're not like right on the corner. I think on the side where the florist is, I think there's a sign, or there was, that you had to park like, so many feet back from there. But there isn't in front of those garages, so they park right up to the corner, and that's what makes it hard to see cars coming down Humphrey Street. So if they could even just park, whatever the regulation is, like 20 feet back or 30 feet back, then you could see the cars coming, and I think that would help a lot too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Please.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Hi, I'm Allison Arnett. We live at 21 Cedar Hill Terrace. We've lived there almost 50 years. We raised our kids there.
Competition.
That hill is very dangerous for families and children. There are children going down that hill on bicycles, and it's a dare, because it's steep. There are people going down with baby carriages. You can't see around the cars, as Jim and Al said, turn that corner and come up the street without being able really to see anything, often too fast. People come down Bayview and turn without stopping enough. It's both a one-way danger and for drivers, and it's also really dangerous for families. And there are many more families with children living on our hill than used to. I mean, we were always kind of we were the youngest, we were the only people with children. Now there are lots of children living on Bayview and Fuller and Cedar Hill Terrace. And, you don't want something really terrible to happen just because we're protecting the car dealership down the street. The car dealership down the street. Thank you.
Please.
Hi, I'm Daryl Smith. I'm the dentist. And I've been in business in the town of Swampscott for 33 years. And our dentist, my office is on 26 Puritan Road, and also butts onto Humphrey Street. I'm across the street from the car dealer. I didn't receive any notice. I don't know if businesses receive notices for things like this, but I never got notice for your last meeting or tonight. I just want to state that. Some of my staff does park on Cedar Hill Terrace. They park at the top. I've told them to only park at the top along the trees. The bottom is definitely a mess. There should not be cars parked adjacent to the car dealer because it's a tight corner, visibility, all the issues that we've heard. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to the residents if they want to keep parking to themselves in front of their houses. But it's very, I have elderly patients in wheelchairs. I need my parking at my office so that my patients can access my office. We're essential service. We provide great service to this community. And I don't let my staff park in the staff parking areas because my patients need access. A couple can do it each day, but I need at least 10 spots open for customers. And that works out pretty good. So occasionally, myself or some staff will park at the top of the hill on Cedar Hill alongside the brush. Now that brush is encroached, totally overgrown the town parking or sidewalk. The road gets wider there. I don't see any good logical reason to restrict parking to my staff. It's daytime hours. We're already restricted from the beach, which is a hardship because I don't get any resident permit parking. Maybe I can, I don't know. That would be helpful, but my staff sometimes has to walk from blocks away. So it would be helpful that that spot stay open and available to parking, that top part on the south side of Cedar Hill Terrace. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Bill Walthall. I live at 23 Bayview Avenue, up around the corner from my good friends and neighbors. I've only been here for 9 years, so I'm a newbie, so you can shout me down if you want. I'm also a client of the wonderful dental practice, and I promise I will walk instead of drive. What I'm worried about is if we just do a resident-only parking solution to what is obviously a problem, especially at the very bottom of the hill. It'll take sometimes 4 or 5 minutes to take a left out of Cedar Hill Terrace, which is really dumb. So I think there's probably some other approaches, maybe in combination with resident-only parking. Here's what I think would happen if we just did resident-only. Everyone would just come up around the corner in front of my house and all sorts of other houses on Bayview Avenue, and then we'd be back next year to do the same, and then we will become a less and less inclusive town. I love it in those few days like July 3rd when we have the fireworks, and people from all over town will park along Bayview to walk down to watch the fireworks. Love it. Love to wave to them, love to say hi to them, invite them onto our deck. But not every day. The real problem is the car dealership. They should not be allowed to park along any city street. They should have a lot where they park their inventory. So I don't know exactly what bylaws might be necessary or are currently available to the police to enforce that, but we should, one, have no parking at all near the intersection. It's just dumb. They don't allow that in New York City. So as much as I want to support my good friends on Cedar Hill Terrace, I just wonder if we can have a more robust solution, because I completely agree with the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
George Allen, 27 Bayview Ave. First of all, a big welcome to Ted and Wayne. We're glad to have you on the board. And yes, this is about the Cedar Hill parking. And there certainly are issues on Cedar Hill, there's no doubt, especially down near the bottom near Humphrey Street. I don't support residential parking on any part of the street, in part because it would increase street parking on Bayview Avenue, as we just heard from my next door neighbor, Bill. I do have 3 suggestions primarily aimed at increasing the safety for cars coming out of that street onto Humphrey Street, as well as cars turning onto Cedar Hill Terrace. First, and this is a fairly obvious one to me, make the first 100 feet of both sides of Cedar Hill Terrace from Humphrey Street all no parking with those white striped hash lines on it like Marblehead does. It makes it really clear you're not supposed to park there, okay? This will get you your sufficient clearance and the line of sight for traffic turning from and onto Cedar Hill Terrace. I think that's critical regardless of the resident parking issue. The next thing I would do is make the first 25 feet in front of the Four Seasons Motor Group on the Humphrey Street at the corner of Cedar Hill Terrace. No parking, again, with those hash lines. Again, this is about clear sight lines for oncoming traffic when you're turning, especially turning left or the east onto Humphrey from Cedar Hill Terrace. So these are all safety issues. And I would hope we can ensure and enforce that cars that are owned by Four Seasons Motor Group, the company on the corner, are not parked on the street. That's Cedar Hill and Humphrey Street and Bayview Ave, and they're not exceeding any permit limit, if there is one, for the number of cars on the premises. Thanks.
Thank you. Additional comments, please.
Good evening. I'm Eugene O'Brien. We live at 11 Fuller Avenue. We back up to Cedar Hill Terrace. I'm here, I suppose, to just echo pretty much what everybody else has said. Large numbers. Want to make sure that you know that this is a dangerous situation at the bottom of the hill. If I have to bring my boat down, which I do regularly, well, 4 or 5 times a year, trying to get out onto Humphrey Street is already a problem without a boat. Try it with a boat. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no additional comment online or in person, I will read public comment, which was emailed to me. This is from a resident by the name of Barry Greenfield. Good afternoon, my name is Barry Greenfield. I'm currently a resident of Swampscott and a former selectman. I am 61 years old and an empty nester and hoping to stay in Swampscott for a long time. I'm catching up on an issue of how to redevelop the town-owned land next to Mission on the Bay. I've yet to hear any proposal that gives anybody in the town a win, but there is a solution that will accommodate everybody's needs and give the taxpayers a break. After raising 2 children here in town, I agree there's a need for community indoor play space, and that is available for residents throughout the non-outdoor play months. This has always been an issue, although I was hopeful it would be resolved by the new elementary school gym. It would have seemed this would have helped alleviate the issue. At the same time, a community space, whatever its makeup, would be incredibly positive for all residents to have access for workshops, classes, and events. Additionally, there's also not enough space at the current senior center, nor is there enough affordable housing, senior housing, or appropriate condominiums for those people looking to downsize. Nor is there enough parking or retail at the entry corridor of Swampscott. Lastly, my property taxes when I moved here in 2006 were $7,000. They are now $20,000 annually. Any proposal for this parcel that does not speak to the issue of cost of living in this town will be dead on arrival, in my humble opinion, to most of the residents. The solution, the land currently owned by the town is being studied for use next to the Mission on the Bay, could achieve all of the above with a mixed-use project. Smart towns and cities are no longer myopic when it comes to development. I highly recommend the Select Board back this type of effort. Bringing in 2 to 3 developers to discuss the cost of the project that would provide an entire floor of a building to community life center, senior or affordable housing, and multiple floors of condominiums, whose revenue would support the cost of the entire project, as well as much needed revenue to the tax base. Retail on the street side with parking in between, that and the main structure is an ideal option to revitalize that part of Swampscott. Mixed use is not a new concept, and it's one that will give every resident in town a win and make any project that much more likely to be accepted. Thank you, Barry Greenfield. Oh, it looks like we have one more comment. My apologies, Mr. Demento.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Oh. Go ahead, Mr. Demento.
Good evening, and welcome to the new additions. What I would like to comment on is the process relative to the issue you're going to bring up on the car dealership at the bottom of Cedar Hill. I lived on Bayview Drive for 30 years, and the only selectman I ever encountered that cared about anything on that was Peter Spelios, and he tried very hard to get them under control and begged for police enforcement. In my opinion, this is not a problem unless the police department, which is only 100 yards away, ignores it. And the fact of the matter is, they have ignored it for 30 years. And it's just simply, there's plenty of laws available relative to that, what they're supposed to do. Their license is controlled. Peter fought hard to get that. How many cars they have, the use of the back lot. Everyone on that hill knows the history and how difficult it is. A little, not more than a lot of enforcement, just a modicum of enforcement would cure that problem. On the process issue, I'd just like to ask if it makes any sense to have people get up at the beginning of a meeting and give public comment when the issue hasn't even been raised yet, and the idea is that you're going to hear from the police department and what should be done then. Don't you think maybe you should be rethinking that position and call a public hearing when you're going to have an issue that obviously the neighbors are very concerned with? A lot of these neighbors, Jack Sweeney lived right behind me for many, many, many years, and he and I and Steve Morantz would talk about it all the time. It's a continuing problem, and maybe this is a good time to have the police department do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Demento. All right, so we will move on to new and old business. First item on the agenda is discussion and appointment of the Select Board Chair and Vice Chair. Take it away.
So this is the process by which you all will be reorganizing. New board, go through the process of identifying a nominee for chair and vice chair. It is something that you all will handle with nominations and a vote.
Thank you. So, would anybody like to make a nomination?
I nominate Katie Phelan for chair.
I'll second that.
Okay, would anybody like to make a nomination? Oh, should we talk through that one first?
Sure.
Okay. Danielle, do you want to start?
Well, I think you've done a great job, and I think you should continue. That is my 2 cents. Yeah, I think that you've led us well the past year, and I'd like to see you continue down that path. Thank you.
Anybody else have a comment?
Danielle, this isn't something that you're interested in?
Nope. Thank you for asking, though. No.
Well, generally, we rotate. That's why I didn't want to
Yeah.
leave you out.
I politely decline.
Katie, are you willing to accept a nomination?
Well, sure.
Okay.
I could always choose to ask for help if I need it.
You can.
So yes, I am.
Sharing is caring.
That's right. Are there any other nominations, or should we just move to a vote? How do we want to handle?
Move to a vote.
Move to a
Let's
vote.
move to a vote. All those in favor of appointing Katie Phelan as the Select Board Chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? None. Very good. All right, the Vice Chair. Would anybody like to make a nomination for Vice Chair? I don't normally make a motion, but I would like the board to consider a motion to make Danielle Vice Chair.
Would you be willing to do that, Danielle?
I could do that, yep, I suppose, yep. I'm not,
Really twisting arms here.
Mary Ellen, are you interested in being vice chair?
Sure, I don't care. I mean,
Asking, okay.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so there's 5. Would you like to nominate Danielle? I can nominate Mary Ellen?
Sure.
Okay.
So we need a nomination and a second. So Ted, I take your nomination. Is there a second for Danielle?
Sure.
Okay. And then the motion on the floor to nominate Mary Ellen is Wayne's.
Sure.
And then is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So now discussion.
I feel that either one would be perfectly fine. I just wanted to give both an opportunity, that they're both well-deserved positions. Danielle, I wasn't sure if you were willing or wanting to, so I didn't want to put you in a position either.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, so I think the most important is the chair at this moment. The vice serves as the backup should the prior not be able to serve, and I know there's tenseness. I don't want that to be there. I could see it in everyone's faces. Okay. So I'm happy to support Mary Ellen.
Well,
Anybody else?
yeah, I'm happy to support Danielle as vice chair.
Okay.
So, should we take a vote?
Sure.
Okay, so all in favor of Danielle? Aye.
Aye.
Do I vote for myself?
You sure do. I did.
Okay.
Aye.
All in favor of Mary Ellen?
Well, I think we just had 3.
Oh, okay.
So
That's,
that
motion
passes.
carries.
That's fine.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate it.
here we are then, I guess. Moving on to beach stickers. A very exciting topic. We have the wonderful artist who developed our beach sticker for this year with us, Becky Brandt. Thank you for joining us. Maybe
They're beautiful, thank you.
up now.
Thank you so much.
Do you guys want to come up to the mic and then we have a little presentation? You don't have to?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So real quickly, for those of you who can't see the screen, stickers are already on sale. They've been on sale since May 4th. Make sure when you come into Town Hall, you bring your driver's license and your car registration. They both must match or you don't get the sticker. It must be registered to your Swampscott resident. Stickers are $25. Residents over 65, they're only $10. They accept cash and check payments. The hours are 8 to 5 Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 8 to 7 p.m. on Wednesdays, and 8 to noon on Friday. And Becky, do you want to tell us a little bit about this beautiful image?
It's the blue mussel shells that we find on the beach every day, and I'm just trying to highlight some things that we see every day and sort of magnify them a bit, just to have some appreciation for things you walk by every day. But I wanted to say thank you for letting me do the sticker to Charlotte. Thank you for all the positive feedback. I really appreciate it. And lastly, say hi to my mom. She's selling stickers at the town hall. Say hi to Priscilla for me. She's like probably going to tell everybody, but that's all. But thank you so much.
Really nice
Amazing.
job.
Very
Really
nice.
Wait, can I ask you a question? How did you even know to do this design?
I have done a lot of paintings and a lot of ceramics with mussel shells, and it's just something I've played with. And so when I submitted a few images to Charlotte, she picked, or I don't even know how many people looked at it to pick it, and so she just chose that. I liked how it kind of looked like a heart.
Yeah.
I've done ones that are like yin yang. I kind of liked that idea too, because a lot of the times the shells are dark on one side. So that's just things I played with. So
It's great.
thank you. I really appreciate it.
Beautiful job.
And if you don't have a chance, if you haven't had a chance to look at Becky's beautiful ceramic work, she is typically at the PTO fundraiser in the at the yacht club for the holidays, and also she does a lot of other events at well, she used to be at Reach Arts, but a lot of other places. So make sure you check out her wonderful wares.
And here's the official presentation of sticker 000. So the first sticker.
The first sticker to our artist.
Very nice.
Thank you, Becky.
I think we should also mention that this is a project that Peter Spelios started a long time ago, and he would always comment on how he hated going down the Linway and seeing these little tiny stickers, and he used to always talk about this, and I used to think, what is the big deal about a little sticker? But now you do drive down the Linway or wherever, and you see, artwork, Swampscott artwork. So this is just Peter's project, and I hope nobody forgets that.
Thank you very much. Also, Becky's a Swampscott grad, so in case you didn't know that, she's hometown proud. All right, well, thank you very much, and make sure you go down and get your beach stickers. And Nick, beach stickers are also being offered to employees, correct?
Yes,
But they're buying them, right?
correct. Paid for, not free, paid
Yes,
for.
paid for. But that is something that we wanted to extend, not just residential community members, but community members at large, which includes our employees, that they should get to enjoy the beaches too. So appreciate that. All right, moving on to the next item of the agenda, it would be the parking at Cedar Hill. So,
If I could just
please.
jump in quickly before you all deliberate. As you know, this was raised at the last meeting. Captain Cable and Chief Casada spoke to it a little bit. The recommendations, as discussed at that meeting, are really focused on sightlines, access for residents, and then safety for both pedestrians and vehicles, with the idea, some of which were highlighted today, that folks park up on the sidewalk on both sides. Right now, when both sides are actually full, it becomes a real issue for safe transiting, both by vehicular traffic and pedestrian traffic. And so the proposal that was put forward is up on the screen there, just so folks can sort of reference it again. At the bottom portion up to the corner of Four Seasons, it is no parking. There's a 1 hour section going up almost to the garage that's on the left, and then no parking again, with the idea that the sightlines from Bayview down and pedestrian access on that side, although overgrown, would be protected, and through traffic would have enough space. I know the question was raised about notice. We did go door to door within a 300-foot sort of center spot, which I think might have been Al's house. So it included a couple of the businesses, although it did not reach to the dentist's point across Humphrey. So we got folks on Bayview. I know Four Seasons and the business to the left, and I think the first few houses on the right on Humphrey as well. If I'm mistaken, please correct me, Shannon. But we went through the same process that we would if it's a public hearing notice, with that 300-foot circle on GIS, and then put on the doors. I believe they went out on Monday. The original plan had been Friday, but they were delivered on Monday. So that was done, but we did not reach across Humphrey Street. So that's a reasonable expectation that we can be sure to sort of extend beyond the 300 feet in any similar circumstance going forward. But this was the proposal that was put forward last week by Public Safety, that we wanted to gain some feedback from the community and also give you all some time to consider in advance of making a final determination.
So my first question is, who is going to police 1 hour parking?
It would still fall to Swampscott Police Department. And can I just answer one other thing that we raised during the TA report? The tickets that were issued in March, it was 45 parking tickets, 4 of which were on Humphrey. In April, it was 76 parking tickets, 3 of which were on Humphrey. In April 27th to May 3rd, which is only, obviously, there might be a little bit of double counting there because you gave me the week as opposed to from May 1st to May 3rd, there's been 9 parking tickets, 1 of which was on Humphrey. So,
All right, just can you just, how many parking tickets were on Humphrey Street
From March
those
to
3
present,
total?
8.
8,
From March to present.
8 in
Eight.
total?
correct.
In total?
8 parking tickets.
For the whole time, not like in
Correct.
a week?
That's April, March, and the first week of May.
Okay.
So I'd like to know exactly how they plan
Yeah.
to police 1 hour parking. I want to know their actual plan, because I don't have a lot of faith with the numbers you just gave me that anyone is going to do that. So that right away crosses off that little green line for me, because I don't think it doesn't make any sense to me. That's my personal thought, I could be wrong, but that's my first. I really want to see what their plan is, who is actually, I'd like to know the shifts, I want to know exactly how they're going to man that, because I don't have a lot of faith that that's actually going to be policed. That's my first comment.
And Humphrey Street is 2-hour parking? Like
Yes.
that? 2-hour parking,
Yes.
8 tickets.
My second comment, my second concern, and I've raised it before, is what somebody else referenced in that business,
Four Seasons.
thank you, in the one to the left. I have said multiple times here that business concerns me, and their limitations in terms of how many cars they have parked on Humphrey Street, and I'd like to know who is going to speak to them, or maybe we should have them come here and speak to us, I don't know, but they definitely have to be a part of the solution, because they are the problem, primarily.
I think that ideally it would both be enforcement, but to have them come here because it is a permit, or license rather, that was issued by the town
Yep.
at the end of last calendar year. So I think it's perfectly within reason that we would ask them to come down and make sure that if we have specific concerns, that we are addressing them with them, in addition to working with both building and community development to make sure that.
Have we had the opportunity to pull those licenses and see what the capacity is for the business
Pull the license.
that we gave to these
Yeah, it's
businesses to operate?
a single-digit number of vehicles that they are allowed to
7.
have for sale at any particular time.
Which is,
And
you
it-
can see by
You
this
can see-
picture that
right,
they're,
and if you were to walk by or drive by, which different folks I'm sure have done, including myself, there's like a yellow medallion that is the for sale.
right. So I would be curious to see what the fees are for being over your allotted number of spots there. So, but those businesses, we need to talk to them, because that is really, to someone else's point, at the heart of this problem, and I'm not sure that was ever done, or when it was ever done, but it's time.
It was definitely done, it was not, I would say, when the permit came around this time, and the site on Paradise Road did not renew. Mary Ellen, you remember? We talked about it a little bit.
The site on Paradise?
Yeah, the one across from, we have, because there's 3 of them. There's 3 of those permittees.
At the
And
Citgo?
I think it's.
Yeah, we didn't renew
we
that.
didn't renew the one across from the Citgo.
On
So we
Paradise.
renewed the Citgo and we renewed this one. So we
Right.
definitely talked about it contextual.
Well, it's not that we didn't renew.
They
didn't-
did not renew,
they did not
correct. It was not
Right.
renewed because they did not apply, is what I mean to say. But in the context by which we have normally been talking about it is, and correct me if it's this one or the Citgo, but there is a portion of the business that is for used car sales, and that is regulated. There's a portion of the business that is for repair, and that obviously creates an influx of cars going in and out. Now, I think there should be far more enforcement on this, especially this corner, as to where they're parking close to the actual corner. There's no parking on Cedar Hill Terrace on this, but we don't show no parking on Humphrey Street, so that the line of visibility, so when
Right.
you're coming down, you can see that when you're taking a right-hand turn, you could see where you're going. That needs to be, if it's there, fine, it needs to be enforced. It's clearly not in this picture enforced.
It makes a very narrow road, even on
And
Humphrey.
but it's not, currently it is not no parking on that corner
Right.
on Humphrey and Cedar.
Here, on the bottom.
Yeah.
Where that car is. Well, there needs to be
So that
some
would have to be a change right there.
hatching or some sort of
Mhm.
no parking there.
Mhm.
So that alleviates part of the issue. And I agree with Danielle. We need to have a conversation, whether it's Marzi or they come in, they understand.
I think it would be both, to be honest.
Okay,
Mhm.
great.
I also want to, one concern that I have is the Four Seasons, they're not here. I do happen to live in this neighborhood. I come to that stop sign a minimum of twice a day, sometimes 5 times a day. So I don't experience the parking. I really don't notice cars there without plates. And I did look, especially after having a conversation with Peter 2 years ago. So I'm not seeing as much as what other people are seeing, and my concern is that the Four Seasons and the businesses there are also getting a fair representation of what's going on, because we have to remember that businesses are very important in this community, and that people have a fair opportunity to talk about what they're experiencing or what they're actually doing. So I'm just wondering if we should be kicking this back to the police department and to Marzi and having a bigger conversation about how to make this work better, especially with some of the recommendations as far as making it no parking in the front, the first 10 feet in the front on Humphrey Street, and, just getting a little bit more into the weeds.
I agree with Mary Ellen on that. And to Danielle's point as well, if we're going to vote on parking enforcement, whether it's no parking areas, resident-only parking areas, or 1 hour, we have to have a little bit more confidence in the way it's going to be enforced before we should vote on this. So I think I would suggest we get a little bit more information on parking management, parking enforcement, and then from DPW, how they're going to erect signs or hash marks or whatnot for the no parking areas. Because, we've all seen people park in no parking areas because there's no hash marks and nothing happens.
Right.
So we should get this more holistically understood, and before I'm comfortable voting on it, at least.
So should we kick it back to the first?
I'd like to make a couple of comments. Okay, so I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Williams and go down to Cedar Hill. I kind of wanted to see this in person, and one of my questions was, usually what spawned or spurred the activity here. And I just want to recognize that he had been actually asking for this over a year ago. And it was only until recently, until he brought it to the select board, that we've started to take action on it. So this issue is not just all of a sudden popping up. Secondly, I think, from his description also, there's new parking pressures that haven't been there in the past. There is, between new drivers and there's a new apartment going on next door, so there's more parking pressure. So that aside, I think everyone's in agreement with the danger at the bottom of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to address also is some of the things I noticed going up the hill. And right now, on the upper left side, it's currently 1 hour parking. It's a faded sign from 8 to 5, I'm trying to remember. In talking with the neighbors, I don't think they were in favor of making that no parking. What I did notice was, and I think this was brought up by one of the residents, that area is so overgrown, there's no defined sidewalk, there's no defined kind of property line or perimeter, so it looks like it's an extension of the road, and so people just park there. There is no safe access on that left side. Now, this is where I'd like to see a little bit of better understanding coming back. Is that something the DPW needs to take care of? Is that something that we need to better demarc? Okay, because it is taken back over. So it looks like, again, it looks like the street. And if effectively we've granted that to be a part of the street by default, then that extra space is actually not so bad. If you treat it as truly as a sidewalk and you pulled it in, the street gets narrower. So that taken also into account on the blue side, on the right side as you're going up the hill, there is concern. I think residents are liking to park closer to the property boundary line just to keep their cars from getting hit. which I completely understand. But there's also the balance of the community need to have safe access, because that is a reasonably concerned, I have reasonable concern about the safety of that area, particularly as cars come around, they come around fast. I think what's different than 10 years ago is a lot more distracted driving, and based upon a lot of the conversations and you know, I could reasonably expect us to pay more attention to maybe demarking spots, physical spots, so that we can both make, just like on Humphrey Street, how we have physical markings of where you can literally park, so it can be a little bit more organized, a little bit more structured. And to your point, I agree with the enforcement wholeheartedly, that if, you know, there's no point in mandating something that's not going to be enforced. So with that, I just, you know, want to recognize key points, demarking, maybe even if there's a concern coming around Bayview on Cedar Hill, that if that stop sign is not being respected, perhaps there needs to be a summer speed bump at that point, so it makes them stop, so that they are taking a view around the side. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that ad hoc here is just an idea. I certainly think this needs a little bit more pushback, particularly on that area, whether or not it becomes, let's say, 1 or 2 hour, I'm talking about the upper left, let's say 1 or 2 hour and resident parking, so that you have an option for potentially both. I just think this needs to be thought out a little bit more. Again, I think we're all in agreement at the bottom of the hill that is an absolute safety mess. But I'd like to take a little more thought and deliberation on the top, and how we manage the resident parking, considering that, is that a new sticker? If we talked about giving guest passes, is that, you know, is that something, I mean, I could direct that to you, Nick. How would we go about managing that if we made a policy?
On the resident side, they're issued by the police department. The police department would also provide a visitor along with the resident parking sticker, so that they would have one handy. And this is true throughout town. There's one available to the.
So you put a sticker. You'd have an
sticker,
emblem, a placard.
Sort of a placard that
yes.
you can share with a guest that's at your property.
Okay.
The other question is, some of that area of overgrowth, I think, is on private property, from my understanding. So that might be a question for Gino.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do we?
I think where it's overgrowing the public way and the right of way, I think that there's obviously an opportunity for us to get up there and do mechanical vegetation management.
Yep.
I will talk to Gino about that. If you all are, I know you've sort of said we're in agreement, but if you're in agreement on the idea of doing something at the bottom as well, we could work with them to do the hash lines if a decision is made by you all tonight on that. And also, we're not kicking the can down the road, but come back to have a deeper discussion with both Four Seasons and ask public safety to take a second look at the ways that they would like to do it and how they would enforce it. But I don't want to make a change like the hash lines without you all voting on that, because the point of this, and Mary Ellen rightly saying let's do 2 meetings on it, was to make sure it's feedback and informed decision by you all on what you want to do. So if we're talking about the hashes at the bottom and you want to take action on that tonight, that's something that we can then get into the work plan with DPW.
I think we definitely should take action. Why not? We're all in agreement on that red portion, and it's, you know, it's a hazard, so let's not kick the whole thing down the road, right? So
So what we're saying is,
that red,
take a motion on the, what is that, 100 feet there? So we're looking for a motion on the
Bottom
red.
portion of Cedar Hill Terrace, the
on-
no parking on the bottom.
And then-
as depicted.
And in that motion, are we including the corner right there on Humphrey and Cedar Hill?
Yeah, the
Yes,
problem
that's
is,
one
I
way.
don't know what's the appropriate amount of space, so I
Footage.
think that is maybe
Should we
more of a.
should we discuss that in the next round with
On Humphrey, we're saying?
Yes.
on Humphrey? Yeah.
I think if you're comfortable, we could defer to Gino to rely on.
Hash and appropriate,
Just
no parking from the corner onto
The actual, there is a.
Isn't there state
nationwide-
regulation
Right.
on
I
this?
thought it was
I'm
10
positive
feet.
it's like 10 feet or 1 car
I
length.
thought it was 10
one
feet.
car, yeah. I
no
know that's
parking
one
here
car
at
length.
corner.
I trust Gino's
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
depth for that. part of
Based
it.
on
Based on the conversation.
appropriate rules and
Yeah.
regulations at the
Okay, so the motion that would be on the table right now is to support the no parking on the bottom portions of Cedar Hill Terrace as depicted on the image, and to allow Gino to create no parking on Humphrey Street from the corner of Cedar Hill going in front of Four Seasons Motor Group's property line. That's the motion on the table right now, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll second that.
But you have to make it.
Or I'd
Yep.
support the motion, yeah.
Okay, so Wayne is making the motion,
Second.
Danielle seconds, all in favor?
Hold on a second, I just have one
you
question. I'm just a little concerned because having no parking on Humphrey Street is going to affect the businesses there. If it's Gino, I don't want Gino to turn around and, just take X amount of space. I think it's got to make sense.
To Nick, your point though was just to the appropriate level under
appropriate,
Mass DOT or US DOT
Yep.
regulations.
Just like
right?
10
Good with
feet
that.
or one car
Yep.
length, I
That
think.
we will actually be able to point to where we got the
Great.
calculation.
We could adjust,
Okay.
Okay.
So,
motion amended, yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. And then we will come back to discuss the additional suggestions. We really need to have police here to discuss enforcement
Yep.
And Four Seasons.
Yeah.
and Four Seasons, yep.
I would
And-
suggest the parking conversation about enforcement, we can talk about it for Cedar Hill, given what's going on here, but we might want to expand that conversation to be all on Humphrey Street. Because I know that comes up frequently, and I think the statistics you cited are
Abysmal.
troubling. Yeah, that's a better description.
And then what about the tree, the landscaping?
I will talk to Gino to see, I assume if it's in the right of way, when it hangs over the same tree hanging over private property, that we can go sort of to the line. And
Yeah.
so we'll talk to him about mechanical vegetation management for that, which is,
And
sort
just
of
be,
trying to cut a straight line.
I think the neighbors are sensitive to that, per discussing to them, maybe just make sure you have the conversation with them. I think the important part is demarcation, just to understand where it is, right? And yeah, the vegetation, there are some definite trees growing like right in the middle of that area. I don't know what the legal minimum width is for a sidewalk.
Gino will.
Yeah.
I don't know that Gino knows off the top of his head. I do not,
Sure.
but we can certainly
Okay.
research
He
it
knows.
All right,
to reflect that.
okay.
They
Okay.
are in our zoning bylaws, just to throw that out there.
There we go. Ted knows it. All right, so we will bring back the conversation for Cedar Hill, either at the next meeting or the following meeting, depending on, because the next meeting will be town meeting.
The next regular meeting, I think,
next
is a better way to
regular
say it, so
meeting.
that it's not
That's
that
fine.
just before town meeting one.
Yep.
And we will, again, notice, and we will make sure we include the businesses along Humphrey as well, not just the ones on the side that are within that circle. Thank you for that note.
Okay, moving on to the Council on Aging presentation. Thank you all for joining us. Happy to have you. And thank you for the reschedules. I know there were a couple of them.
Get started. Good evening. My name is Sushant Sivam. I'm a member serving on the Council on Aging. I'm here with my lovely colleagues. I'll have them introduce themselves as well.
Hi, I'm Heidi Weir. I'm the Director of Aging Services for the town of Swampscott.
I'm Sabrina Clopton. I'm the Assistant Director of the Swampscott Senior Center and the Outreach Social Worker.
Cheryl Levinson, I'm the Vice Chair of the Council on Aging.
So we are honored to be here tonight representing our senior residents, and we thank you for your time. Our chair of the board of the council, Bob Powell, is not here, unfortunately. He's on a flight at the moment. However, he is gracing us with his digital presence. He recorded a message for us, and he will beautifully set the scene as to why we are here tonight. So we'd like to play that video right now. And there's Bob.
I'm Bob Powell. I serve as the chair of the Swampscott Council on Aging. I'm also the co-chair of the Swampscott for All Ages Committee and a member of the Swampscott Retirement Board, the Swampscott 2035 Master Plan Committee, and the Swampscott Community Life Center Feasibility Study Task Force. I'd like to thank our town administrator and the Select Board for giving senior center stakeholders the opportunity to present today. So why are we here tonight? We're here to answer a straightforward question. Are we staffed and structured to meet the current and future demand for senior services? The answer, as you'll see, is no. That conclusion is supported by data, peer benchmarking, and documented community need. At the same time, we recognize the fiscal realities facing the town. We understand that current and future budgets may not fully support what will be needed. But we also have a responsibility to plan for what we know is coming. The demographic trends are clear. The demand is not speculative. It should not come as a surprise to anyone. Our goal tonight is to begin that planning process, to be proactive rather than reactive. Ultimately, we aim to align documented community need with a measured, responsible path forward.
Thanks,
Great.
Bob. That was
Thanks,
nice.
Bob.
Hi, I'm Bob.
Uh-oh, we can hear it again.
Oh, he's coming back.
So we've done a lot of work looking at numbers to understand, how we've grown as a center serving the senior residents, where we are today. We've looked at peer benchmarking. We've looked at demographic trends. And so we would like to share with you the insights that we have gained from that. And then towards the end, shift towards recommendations we have in terms of how to continue to provide the services that we do and to meet the demands of the growing demographics. So I will kind of go over the numbers, and then I will, if you can get to the agenda slide, that would be great, the next slide. Perfect. So I'll go over the numbers, the growth trends, et cetera. Heidi will then talk more about the operations of the center, especially focused on staffing, as well as some of the gaps in terms of unmet needs. Sabrina will cover more in terms of the services offered, what it takes to do it, to give you a sense of sort of daily happenings with the center. And then Cheryl will talk about the consequences of inaction. If we do nothing today, what are we going to be faced with going forward? And then we'll wrap it up with a summary of our asks of you. And that's our agenda. So in terms of numbers, as you can see, over the last 4 years, the center has grown tremendously in so many different facets. And that's really thanks to a great deal to our exceptional leadership from Heidi and Sabrina and their team. They've done a boatload of work being such a small team as well. And you can see across the board it's triple-digit growth in terms of number of members, in terms of daily attendance, the outreach contacts that are taking place, meals served, transportation rides, and including volunteer hours. And as we all know, coordinating volunteer activities is pretty administratively intense as well, because we need to make sure the safety and well-being of not only the seniors being served, but also the volunteers. So altogether, all these activities have shown tremendous growth.
Could I ask a question actually on that slide?
Mm-hmm.
How do you define membership? How do you, literally, is there a listing, or how is one defined as a member as opposed to someone that just comes on occasion?
When an individual comes to the senior center, they're asked to fill out a form. Membership is free of charge, but we do collect information specifically because we need information in case of emergencies.
Yep.
And so we keep all of that on file, and they are added to our rolls. When we know someone is deceased or they've moved from the area, they get removed from the membership line.
And do we have, so is the membership, is this number comprised solely of Swampscott residents?
No.
Okay.
About 52% of this number is Swampscott residents.
So less than half of that increase is Swampscott resident.
Well, 52, so
52.
more than half, a little more than half.
52% equals Swampscott residents that have increased, okay.
Wait, is the 52% current membership or the increase?
Current membership.
Okay.
Being Swampscott resident.
Okay,
Yep.
I was talking.
Membership is
Being
52%.
Swampscott
Yeah,
resident.
one's a growth
Correct.
number, the other's a, right.
Well, the other thing is, you forgot to add that Swampscott seniors can go to any council on aging, any senior center in the Commonwealth. So it's an open door policy. It's,
And vice versa for other towns.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
correct, yeah.
And you're welcome to. We encourage it.
I just think that's an important distinction when we're talking about thinking of, you know, adding things that ultimately come from the Swampscott taxpayer. We have to just be cognizant of how many Swampscott residents are actually bearing that burden, so, but thank you.
So one compelling number that wasn't on the previous slide is actually the growth in staffing hours, the commensurate growth. It's a single digit and it's only 3%. So you can see with only a 3% increase in staffing, the center is meeting and really succeeding in the growth of the services offered to the residents.
And is that primarily because they're subsidized by volunteer hours? Like you're meeting what you need on the volunteer side because you don't have the ability to staff it?
So it's a heavier burden on the volunteer side
Oh, yeah,
to meet
Yeah.
that need.
Yeah.
Of course.
Wow, 278%.
270%, exactly.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah. So essentially, to summarize what the data is telling us is that the growth is broad. It's not just in one particular area, but across the board. What it's also showing is that it's not just a blip, right? It's structural. We all know that the boomers, the baby boomers, are moving through the decades. The majority of the boomers sit on the younger side, between the from 60 to mid 70s. And so as they move and they get into the older ages and the vulnerable ages categories over time, we're going to have to provide even more administratively intense services, the outreach and so on. So the growth is definitely systematic, it's structural, and so we need to prepare ourselves. The bottom half of the slide is essentially showing us that, with growth comes growing pains. Definitely. I mean, you've already recognized that so far. And so we know where we stand today, the current model, we're making it work, but it's not sustainable, not even to meet the current needs, let alone the future growing needs as well. Later on in the presentation, we will talk more about the demographic shifts and how do we look at these age categories that I just talked about. But overall, this is the picture. This is why it's a compelling ask from us that we do need to do something, and if we don't, there are consequences. So let me hand it over to Heidi to talk about staffing and operations in general.
So we currently have 3 full-time staff, myself, Sabrina, who's the outreach worker and assistant director, and then the program volunteer coordinator. Our part-time staff, we have actually 3 part-time administrative assistants that cover the front desk and some of the work. 2 of them are grant-funded, and 1 of them is part-time, is funded by this budget. And then finally, the van driver, we have about 20 hours of van driving funds for medical rides and for grocery shopping and for bringing people to the senior center, et cetera, which is, you'll see, extremely low. We have 115 volunteers this past year with over 2,000 hours of volunteer work. 20 of those are tax work-off volunteers, and then we also have the student volunteers that have come from the high school to do the programs with people living with dementia. Sea Glass Village is on the bottom there, and it's mentioned because it somewhat relieves the pressure from what we do. It is a nonprofit that we started here in Swampscott based from our needs assessment that was conducted in 2019. And just to give you a clue, last year, Sea Glass Village between January and April provided 115 rides. This year, between January and April, we provided 318 rides in just this small time frame. The senior center, we've provided, at the same time frame, we provided 289 rides last year and 273 rides this year. We don't have any additional funds to increase the number of rides. 289, it's very, very much the same. But all I'm saying is that we're relying heavily on volunteers to create and to get people to their doctor's appointments and things.
Can you so Sea Glass Village, the nonprofit organization, they're providing rides like in their own cars, things like that, and they're providing that free of service, or how does that work with the?
That's a membership organization where they pay a fee to belong. It's about $1 a day, so they pay $360 a year. And we also have a grant fund from the Women's Fund to provide scholarships to people who can't afford it. The people have the membership, and then the volunteers drive themselves in their own cars. The membership fees cover all of the additional insurance that needs to be had to cover to make sure the volunteers are safe, as well as provide staffing. We have one part-time director.
All right, and you said the town is providing how many rides?
In that time frame, we've provided 289.
289 over the course of 52 weeks?
No,
that's
just over the first 3 months.
January to.
Got it.
It was 318 from January to April, you said, right?
January through April 15th. Yeah.
And just to be clear, it's not the volunteers who pay the 360, it's the participants?
Yes.
Just to be clear, yeah.
The members, yes. Yes. And the interesting piece, I think, for me is that we got this grant to provide the services for people living below poverty level. And a lot of the Housing Authority people are becoming members, which is wonderful, but they're exceptionally more needy than the average person who belongs to Sea Glass Village. So someone's going through cancer treatment, and they're getting rides, one ride up, and then someone else is coming and riding them back. And these are our volunteers, a lot of them behind me. So,
how many people do you turn away for rides?
At the senior center?
Yeah.
So,
well, people in the community calling, especially people who live alone or
who are older adults or disabled. Okay, so, well, I think just to clarify, the two numbers here I think are significant in that, we are providing a tremendous amount of rides at the senior center, but clearly the rides at Sea Glass Village is the number of rides that Sea Glass Village is providing, combined with our number, shows the overwhelming need for transportation. So Sea Glass Village is doing an enormous amount because, we've, largely maxed out our ability, I think, in my opinion. So I'm really proud of our transportation service. In terms of unmet need, over the past 4 months, I've been kind of observing that and documenting that, and I've turned away 31% of requested rides in the past 4 months. And that's largely due to conflict with another ride, a request being on a day that we don't provide the service, or sometimes out of bounds. We don't go to Boston, so that's that is a decline that we have to, and staffing.
And do you work with the Bertram House and the Residence Inn? Do you have a combination service with them? They have their own vehicles, and the Michon. I just wanted to know what else. Do you work with the Michon?
So the Michon, to my knowledge, doesn't have a vehicle. We transport many members of who live at the Michon who don't have their own transportation. If you live in Swampscott and you are over the age of 55, actually, it's over 60 or 55 disabled, 55 with a disability, then we'll provide transportation. So you have to be a member of the senior center. And we provide rides to local errand shopping on Mondays and Thursdays, and medical transportation on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
So part of that 31% could be somebody calling for a medical appointment on Monday, though?
Correct, yes.
So it would be great if that was broken down a little further to understand, is it people calling for Saturday grocery shopping? Is it people calling for Monday medical? Or is it actually like we cannot meet it because the funds don't allow?
The 31% is specific to medical, so not to our errand shopping. And totally, I could definitely dig deeper and probably examine
just
those.
curious, like if you offered them, obviously on more days, people don't coordinate their medical appointments with your schedule. Maybe they do now that they know what it is, but maybe if they do not know, they're not able to do that. So
Right, right. And I would say that, I mean, there are many members of the senior center that really rely on our medical transportation and do coordinate their appointments based on our schedule. Just today, I went back and forth with a member. I couldn't meet her need at the designated time. I suggested that she call and reschedule her appointment. And shout out to all the local providers that are willing to kind of work with our older adults to reschedule, to coordinate with, to align with our transportation service.
Right.
Including Dr. Smith. I don't know if he's still here, but he's one of them.
Two quick questions. Can you explain, just for the public, what Sea Glass is and what it does, and how it is basically a supplement also to the existing services?
So Sea Glass Village is an organization based on a model that was developed 20 years ago in Boston called the Beacon Hill Village. It's now a movement throughout the country. There are about 300 villages throughout the country and some international. Each village is different. It's its own 501c3. What was the rest of your question? Sorry, Wayne.
No, just how does it supplement the services that you would have already been giving?
Well,
in addition to at the senior center.
We have, and I mention it very proudly, but we have this memorandum of understanding between the village and the senior center, so that if someone can use the senior center transportation to go do grocery shopping, then that's what we try to steer them to do. Now, mind you, the village covers Swampscott, Marblehead, and Nahant, and so Marblehead doesn't have transportation to go grocery shopping when they want to. So it's we're playing with all these different things all the time. But I will say that right now, in this same 3-month, 4-month time frame, we're not able to meet 11% of the needs for Sea Glass Village, just because we need more volunteers.
And I wanted to add about the transportation is that if there is a commitment to take somebody to a doctor's appointment and we either don't have a driver or whatever, you can sometimes see Sabrina driving people to their medical appointments, which then takes her out of the facility and decreases the staff that's there to help. Just the general program.
Has there ever been a full-time van driver? 35 hour a week? No.
Always part-time.
Always part-time.
Yeah. We did have more money for transportation in the past. So the town provides about $20,000 a year right now for van drivers. And we pay for the van drivers through another fund when they're going on a trip to the park or the zoo or whatever. Yeah.
I just have to ask just to get some clarity here. AARP considers a senior 50 years old. What does the senior center consider a senior?
So, okay, I know that I was a little fuzzy on because I think that for us, our favorite saying at the senior center is that we don't card people. So
well, I'm just trying
really
to find out how many seniors are at this table right here.
Oh, okay.
If it's 50, it's 3.
And I also prefer the term older adult, but yeah. So I think that, most of our membership is 65 plus. We don't turn anyone away. And if that helps
but
clarify.
at the state level, it's 60 and over for older adults, and our formula grant is based on 60 and over, for which there are 4,320 60-year-olds and over in Swampscott.
And does that, if you had every 60-plus individual in Swampscott register at the senior center, would that increase your funding from the state?
No.
Okay.
No, we get $16 per person over the age of 65, regardless.
So they just know that, they know that from the census?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So just to be clear, just to follow up on that, the funding you get from the state is based on census data for how many residents are over 60, not membership or anything. It's just that.
Correct.
Understood. Okay.
Yes. And this is just the budget over the last 6 years. And basically, the point here is that it has not increased significantly at all, except back in 2021. But right now, we get about 1/3 of 1% of the town's budget, or about 0.36%. That means we get about $84 total, including the formula grant. So we get 16 from the formula grant and about 68 from the town, which means that each individual, our budget is about $84 per person over the age of 60. So the reality is that we're doing more and more at the senior center. We have more and more members being brought in all the time. We've had phenomenal programming, which is really kind of exciting for us. But we're also stretched. So we don't have enough space at the senior center, so we've been moving into Clark. We started programs there 2 weeks ago at Clark, where we started beach ball volleyball, chair volleyball, so if you ever want to come down and play with us. But we're also working on starting a maker shed at Clark. The issue, though, is that if we start doing something at Clark, we're taking staffing away that we are already stretched with. And so how do we continue to expand and to meet the demands of the town without increased?
Have you discussed that with our recreation director, like how to?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, I think that, I mean, definitely using volunteers is something that we're discussing. I think that, I mean, she has set up a really great model and given us a lot of really good ideas. Just implementing that with a senior population, an older adult population, a vulnerable population it's nuanced for us. So.
Because I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
When we talked about using Clark School last year, it was a no. And then finally this year, we get a new recreation director, and it's a yes. And she just makes things happen non-stop.
She does, yeah.
She's amazing.
Phenomenal.
She's
Yes.
amazing. She's here tonight. I'm not saying because you're here tonight, but it's just the facts are the facts. And I think that one concern I have is I'm constantly hearing how we're busting at the seams, we have no room, we have this and that, and you're just starting to use Clark. And I think that if maybe you work a little bit more with Charlotte, there's ways to really get into Clark a little bit more.
Yeah, agreed. I think Charlotte is a fabulous person to collaborate with. We've done some really great things with her already this year.
She just makes everything happen with the smile on her face, and it's a home run every time.
Yeah.
I think that might be part, no, I don't want to say part of the problem, but I think the accessibility for you guys at Clark creates the double-edged sword of, now we have another location to service.
Yeah.
And we still have the same, thank you, we still have the same number of staff.
That's
right?
part
So
of-
that, to me, is
yes.
what, while it's good to have the second location,
Yes,
if you don't have the people you can't be running back and forth between both, right?
precisely that, yes.
So I think that's where it's coming in, maybe?
It's so exciting to have the extra space and the extra programming, but I think, yes, it's.
That's exactly it.
It's
Yeah.
the staffing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the documented unmet needs in Swampscott that I see at the center. I think a big mission of our center and all senior centers is to address loneliness and isolation. We're a place where people can come and connect socially. I think that the cohort that is most at risk for isolation are our older and vulnerable adults, and in a couple of slides we'll describe what we mean by that. We've touched on transportation gaps. I think that as a social worker at the center, I really feel like the transition to retirement and then kind of beyond that, there's significant adjustment that people need to make. You're losing a social connection through work that you used to have. You are, losing friends. There's a lot of loss, and then there's the loss of the ability to drive, and that is, that feeds loneliness and isolation, and it contributes to poor health outcomes because you're not able to get to the doctor. You're choosing maybe not to go to the doctor because you don't want to ask somebody for a ride. So that's all cumulative. I've seen a phenomenal increase in the need for caregiver support. About 170% increase actually in referrals that I've made to memory care programs, both within our senior center and in the broader community. So that's a growing, and I can only imagine the unmet need there. So, yeah. So I think that I want to contextualize kind of what we mean by active ager, older ager, vulnerable ager, and our caregivers. Our active agers are kind of the members that are on the younger end coming into the senior center. And, you know, from the social work perspective, this is where we're providing, you know, some psychosocial support. I said assisting with the adjustment to transitioning to retirement or this phase of life. I also see this as a really preventative stage at the senior center where I can, you know, kind of educate people, connect them to resources, maybe get some conversations going about housing, you know, prior to a crisis happening. It's like a really good kind of like, that's the preventative, proactive side. Moving into the older agers and vulnerable agers, this is where there's like more of a need for case management referrals, like referrals to GLIS, you know, more of a need for just things like durable medical goods, medical transportation. And there's a lot more crisis-oriented needs in this kind of, as you progress through the older agers and vulnerable agers, a lot more reliance on emergency services, as well as, you know, memory care needs and caregiver support. So as we've discussed, and I mean, it's not a secret that we're growing older and that by the age of 2030, we'll, you know, have a significant surge in, you know, and we'll have more older adults and a significant surge in need for services. I feel like that this slide says demographic pressures and demand will continue to grow. I'm going to say that demand is already growing. And I would say, in comparing, like I just kind of ran some numbers comparing last fiscal year to the year before, and an outreach I saw, and I just wanted to, just a couple of trends that are popping up, a 200% increase in housing-related contacts and evaluations and consultations at the senior center, and a 200% increase in contacts that I've had at the center related to emotional crisis and behavioral health needs. So, you know, those are pretty significant trends that I'm already seeing growing. I'm only going to, you know, hypothesize that they're going to continue to grow. I feel like this is a point where I can, like, really, I can't underscore enough, too, the work that our town's emergency services, police and fire are doing kind of behind the scenes to prop up our older adults in our community. I also feel like some unseen heroes are neighbors who are looking out for other neighbors. And that really does supplement like what we do at the senior center. And, you know, I think that, but it also touches to like the broader need. And I think that, you know, more collaboration with town departments, recreation, emergency services, for a more coordinated response, I would hope would kind of help us deal with like the present need, but also, you know, maybe prevent some more crisis-oriented situations.
Do you work with the veterans agent too? Is the veterans agent at the senior center every week?
Yes.
He has hours every week, yeah.
He has hours, or they, I don't know if it's a he or they.
Sometimes it's Mike and sometimes it's Deb.
So they're there every week. So if I'm a veteran, I know I can go in on a certain day and.
It's scheduled, yes.
Great.
So this slide just kind of compares Swampscott with other communities. And my understanding was that the select board had been asked for communities to compare with salary ranges, et cetera, of towns that are comparable. And this is the list that I got, and this is the list that we compared with. And so we were just comparing staffing patterns with full-time and part-time staff, and you can see that Swampscott is the 6th out of 7. And so if you were to do the peer average at 100%, Swampscott's at about 86% in comparison to their other communities.
When you talk about comparing against other communities, like, I mean, obviously we talked a little bit about the collaboration between other communities and that all senior centers are pretty much open door policies, right? what are we doing to synergize the work that is happening in the communities surrounding us so that if we can't provide everything, we are making sure that we are directing seniors to a senior center surrounding us so that our lack of ability to provide is not their lack of ability to receive. So like, are we checking in with Marblehead? Are we checking in with Salem? Are we checking in with Lynn? Are we checking in with Nahant? And then trying to work in a collaborative fashion so that not all 5 of us are offering everything, but that we're offering a variety so that the seniors' needs are met in our area.
For activities that seniors come to the senior center to do and to engage in, like Mahjong or canasta or exercise programs, those are all collaborative. And we know that we had to stop the Mahjong class, for example, for 3 months because we were doing AARP taxes. Well, they went over to Salem instead. And so we do that kind of collaboration all the time. As far as Sabrina's work, which is much heavier, is she really tries to zero in on providing those services just to Swampscott residents. And our transportation is for Swampscott residents.
Yeah, okay.
So the transportation is solely for Swampscott residents?
So transportation is like the one service that we really is only for, you have to be a Swampscott resident to use our transportation.
Okay.
Except
for Sea Glass, right? Because they're.
Well, so they're separate.
Or they're in addition?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, separate, I gotcha.
And Sea Glass Village is a great resource that I can refer to, just from a social work perspective.
So I think to Katie's point is you're talking about
Yes.
if we're collaborating for attendance and membership and activities, is there the same collaboration for resources, right? So is that not something that's been developed or explored, or maybe it has and maybe it just hasn't got there?
I think it's an opportunity, a huge opportunity, and I think that that I would be so happy to be a part of that broader discussion. I think that there are many ways that we could do that. I mean, Heidi and I have dreamed about, we run on Fridays a social day program, which is a 4-hour respite program. We service 6 community members who live with memory loss. We've thought about how wonderful it would be to regionalize that and, maybe have a day in Swampscott, a day in Nahant, a day in Marblehead. I mean, that would be that would be a great goal to work towards.
Yep.
We share bocce courts and those kinds of things when they're doing tournaments and whatever, but other than that, it's mostly
that's the extent of it.
Yeah, I think I had a conversation about a year ago maybe about, I know in Marblehead they offer a lot of behavioral health services and they have more available there, but there's so much of a need that they can't offer it to residents outside of Marblehead because the need is so great in Marblehead. And so I guess that's the drawback of regionalization is that we have to be willing to sort of pool some resources and then figure out how it's going to work and how it's going to pattern out so that everybody's getting the benefit they bargained for. But, maybe there's a way we can facilitate some of the things that we aren't able to provide more wholesomely just as a Swampscott resident.
And not just at your level, right? So at Nick's level, right? That's a conversation that, like we've had with Nahant or, in different areas. This is probably one that's never been explored, right? And could be, certainly.
Do we have any data that determines other towns or cities that are receiving Swampscott residents and giving them services?
Like reciprocal?
I've never asked, no, but we could.
I bet it's Salem, I'm guessing.
I would
Marblehead.
love to know what they're going there for also, what service we're not providing that they're going
Because that would
somewhere else for.
be helpful to understand or to know where we could potentially regionalize or collaborate with if they're receiving our residents, that would make the conversation more logical.
Do you keep data on when people are coming into our senior center, where they're coming from?
Yes. Yes.
So on a daily basis, you know that 28% came from Lynn, 30% came from.
You could pull it apart if you wanted to. We just used it more.
I mean, that's the jumping off point, Mary Ellen, to your point. To call what is the highest other population we service, call them first and say, hey, we service 30% of your population. What are you servicing for our population? How can we collaborate to provide a service we don't already provide? Maybe it's one you provide. Maybe we're able to work that way.
But I'm going to guess the transportation piece is still going to be the biggest, pain point, right? And we still would need to augment that if we deal with reciprocal relationships with neighboring towns, that's going to come more into play.
But I would also venture to think the transportation is the least costly over the programming, right? Like it's probably
there's
less expensive to bring somebody to a neighboring town where a program is happening than it is to make the program happen here.
If you can pick a few up at a time.
Right.
Okay.
All together, yes.
Is there a consortium between directors of local? Yeah, so do you guys talk to each other on a regular
Yes,
basis? And-
regularly,
Okay,
monthly, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Some senior centers are more engaging in those kinds of activities.
Sure.
Depends on the director. And we have gone after regional grants, and then they have not been funded.
Yep.
For regional transportation grants we've worked on.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
transportation.
Does Nahant have do they have a director over there? Do they have a
Nahant,
senior
yes.
center over there?
Part-time.
And
Yes.
part of the problem with people having to go to other communities is because of our space limitations, we are constantly having to turn people away if they've signed up for a class and we no longer have room. And so then they might go to another class and then they might continue because they know that we're such a small space that they may never get into the program. So that's part of the problem.
So this just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of how, sorry, that got out of order, what an impact might be on increasing some staffing. And you see that there's no years or anything put on here, but pretty immediately it would be helpful for the senior center to kind of restructure the administrative, so maybe taking the two of the part-time staff, administrative staff, and combine them into one FTE, so you have the continuity of the whole week, and that person knows what's going on in the whole week. And then maybe immediately increasing some of the driver's hours. And then later on in the future, maybe hiring an outreach worker, which would be a full FTE, and transportation coordinator, or maybe you take the program manager and the volunteer manager and split those two, and it will depend on how things kind of unfold. But the net cost over this expansion would be $68,000 to $102,000, which is a real estimate, but you can see comparing it to the cost of 3 unplanned hospitalization at readmissions, it's kind of staggering. If we're keeping 3 people out of the hospital through Sabrina's work with getting them the services they need and making sure that they're connected to care and caregivers, then you're helping them stay at home and not being readmitted to hospitals. And this is, again, just talking about the immediate need with the changes in staffing, and then near-term and in future need. And we know that it's not going to happen today, but we do really plead that you hear this call.
Yeah. Have you discussed any funding through Big Blue Bargains?
Big Blue Bargains has been a big supporter. I mean, they've definitely, I mean, not exactly specifically that, but we've been a recipient of, they've given us, I'm blanking on the name of the scholarship their Days of Giving.
Yes.
They have donated a craft class to us, and they've been, very supportive of the senior center. So that would be a great partnership. I mean, I would love to talk to them.
Okay. Yeah, just $20,000 to $30,000 is real money, but it's not that great an ask. So I just wonder if you found a partner who would cover part of, like, partial payment of that annually for this year, that maybe would be more realistic to come forward with it for the next fiscal year or something like that. So just a thought.
That's a great thought.
Thank you.
What are the opportunities for state grants when it comes to this?
We are looking at another grant right now, but they're mostly what they call SIG grants. So it's trying out new activities, trying out something different to see if it will work for funding, which is where OMA came from with that project. It's where the Forget Me Not program came. It's the conferences that we do is more of those one-offs and see if it works and continues.
So we've sort of touched on a lot of the consequences that we face, but to be a little more specific, for example, on the rides, when we have to turn people away because we're either not going to Boston or we don't have the staff, we don't have the staff to then find out what happened to these people. Did they get a ride to the doctor? Did they get to the doctor? Did anything happen to them? That's a big consequence. The programs, as we talked about, having to turn people away. The meals, we only are able to offer 2 meals a week. For a lot of these people, that may be the only good meals that they have the whole week, because we can't offer more than that. And they're only, what, $4? So it's not a big cost, but we don't have the staffing to offer more meals.
So how frequently do you have someone there to, what is the schedule for 2 days a week?
2 days.
2 days a week.
Right,
And
Tuesdays
it's,
and Fridays.
is it just dinners or lunch or?
Lunch.
It's lunch, chef prepared. I
Chef
mean, we source all of our ingredients, he buys and prepares. It's a high quality meal,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
I can attest to
Yeah.
that.
I know
I
that.
participated yesterday. or
Yes.
2 days ago.
So why do you only offer it 2 days a week?
Staffing, money.
We don't have the money for staffing to pay for it.
Does the $4 itself cover additional?
No,
okay,
no, it doesn't cover
I didn't know
it.
how much, what is the minimum you need in order to self-cover and self-fund?
To cover the staffing and the food, or just the food?
For the food,
For the
that
food.
service, that part of it. Or for the food and the stuff to make
Well,
it.
the staff is, oh my gosh, I can't remember what his line item is, what we pay for him, for the staff person. It's about 8 hours a week that he works to prepare the meals. But the food costs probably are around $7 to $8
Per person?
per person.
In Anchor, there's no opportunity for Anchor to do anything with that, I wouldn't assume, right? Or is there a collaboration that ever was thought of, or something in terms of what they get for grants and, you know, if that has ever been tapped or worked out?
We have not.
Yeah, we've definitely explored some
Discussion.
grants
Yeah.
for, maybe partnering
Oh,
with the
yes.
CSA, with like a local CSA to get some ingredients, but,
Yeah.
it's possible, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Yes.
So would you say that that would be a priority, like additional driver? And because I have to be honest with you, I cared for one of my parents for many, many years in his senior years. And one thing that was very serious was nutrition. What I noticed was many of his friends landed in the hospital constantly because they weren't eating, they were eating foods that were high in salt, and that landed them in the hospital. And it was something that was pretty profound that I saw. And then you see so many seniors that don't make food for themselves or whatever. So I always recognize it as a serious issue and a serious preventive issue. So to only hear that we're only offering 2 meals a week, that's pretty concerning. But is that a priority for you, or is it the driver? Like, what are your priorities?
All of them.
I think all of
You
the.
can't have all of them, just give me, if we can get something, what are the priorities?
I would say transport.
I think transportation.
I would think so, that's what it sounds like.
We can be a congregate meal site. We used to be a congregate meal site. That means that
What does that mean?
Trio, somewhere out in Worcester, makes that food and they cook it, and then they put it in a bus at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they bring it.
Huh.
And so the broccoli, when it gets to the senior center and gets in the steam table, is mush. And so people were just plain not eating it. And so after COVID, we started with different volunteers, and we just tried so many different iterations. That we got school food from the high school, and we brought it over, and we would pay them for the food, and it was still not a way to attract people to come. You want to have a meal that is acceptable, and I think it's respectful.
Well, now you have a really good chef over there, too.
We do.
We do, yes, and he's a draw as well.
Theo,
I would also argue that
He's a draw.
Yeah, he is a draw, and I would also argue that the social and emotional connection that occurs with when you're sharing a meal and when you're eating is also so positive and preventative, and it prevents and it just
to create more of that culture would be great. I think that transportation's a priority, but honestly, that is too.
So what is the supplement from Mass Health and or Medicaid, Mass Health? And do they provide funding sometimes through their own insurance? Will they provide funding to doctor's appointments? I only say that because my dad did, but that's how that worked out for him because he was on his own. I don't know how that works here.
So Mass Health does, there is a transportation benefit for, those that have, there is that component, but that's very different from kind of what we do at the center and the transportation that we provide. I think that there are members that utilize that resource through Mass Health, but our transportation is separate from that.
Okay. And what about Meals on Wheels?
So Meals on Wheels is, in our area, is coordinated through Greater Lynn Senior Services, not through the Senior Center. And many of our members at the Senior Center participate in Meals on Wheels. And we have a great relationship with the nutrition coordinator at Greater Lynn Senior Services. And actually, just, but
They deliver
separate.
about,
They
deliver about
yeah.
80 meals a day.
80?
80 to Swampscott residents, yeah.
What about for if we wanted to increase by even one day a month, having it subsidized through restaurateurs or other volunteer
Right.
programs?
Yeah.
Like, for example, like Spur, my family has given our time to Spur before, and they produce, you're laughing. Is
No,
it good,
only
or-
because I think,
We've been trying to work with Spur.
You have? Okay, I know someone. Let me help you. I will try.
No, in a good way.
Okay, good.
No.
Oh, good.
We're gonna, we are doing a lasagna event with them
Oh,
next
great.
month. So,
Yes, I've done that
So-
particular event at Sherrod,
Yes.
and my
Yeah.
family has gone and made like hundreds of
I
lasagnas, which
think
then
we're
go
gonna
out
make-
for preparation. Like,
Yeah.
look, they're not pre-cooked. They go to the families or people who want to eat them, and then they cook them themselves. But I know they also work with like so many food banks, and they offer so many other services. Like, if they could become part of even a 12 once a month rotation, where 1 month it's Spur, 1 month it's Dockside, 1 month it's Mission, 1 month, and like, I'm sure we could find Sam Walker. I'm sure we can find people who once a year would be willing to subsidize a meal for our seniors rather than the commitment of a monthly commitment.
I agree. Yeah, like a celebrity chef. or a
Yeah, and then
celebrity-
that is a
yeah.
draw, right? Because you're coming and having a meal from Dockside at the senior center. Wouldn't that be nice? So, and they might not have the opportunity to be able to go out and enjoy a meal at a restaurant for either costs or whatever other problems. So it's just something to think about.
And we would need a
Good
staff
idea.
person to do with that.
Yeah, and I think, well, this cuts down your food cost question and then only brings into question your, no, not transportation, because it would be at the senior center.
Right.
So then it would only be the staff to coordinate.
Chef cost.
Yeah.
So you'd at least reduce the cost to just, would the $4 per person cover a partial cost of your coordinator, then what would that look like for a subsidy from the town? So something like that.
I love that idea.
Thank you.
So, getting back to consequences that we've, because I could go on forever about the consequences. In the past, if you can go back very far, if you were not able to stay in your home, the only other place you could go was a nursing home. There was nothing in between. And how many people ended up in nursing homes that didn't belong in nursing homes? So we now have assisted living, we have independent living, we have memory care. We have all of these facilities that have popped up, and they've popped up for a reason, because people want to be able to be independent. People want to be able to try and stay in their homes. And the senior center has to grow with that. And what we offer there really allows these people to stay independent, to stay in their homes, to know that they're not alone. Some of them, I know that I've just seen some people come, maybe not for a program, and they just sit there and they talk to people. And it's a reason to get up in the morning and to get moving. And this is probably why our seniors are living so much longer. So as it grows in the outside world with all of these facilities popping up. The senior center needs to grow with it, and we can't, not in the space and not in the staffing that we have. Now I'll shut up.
Maybe if you wouldn't mind, we get to the, or we could go through the slide, but then quickly go through what the asks are, and then we can.
Here it is.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. So to come back to the summary of our asks here, and to use some of Bob's word at the introduction, it's a very measured path forward. The staffing is our biggest pain point at the moment, so we'd like to request endorsement of the suggested staffing plan. The combination of the part-time admins to create a full-time FTE, as well as increasing the driver hours. We would also like, as noted, to mention again that the Clark School use has begun, and we will continue to do that. But as mentioned, it'll create some staffing constraints as well. So as we increase the use of that school, we'd like to be able to come back and talk about increasing staffing to support that as well. And then lastly, our thoughts on the near term and future to meet the needs of the older agers and the vulnerable agers. The outreach component definitely has to keep pace with demand. And so we would come back and at some future time to talk about how to meet that demand as well.
So to be clear, the request in this presentation is not in the current budget.
Now,
Let me just say that the request is more for you to listen and understand and realize that the future holds that, well, we really need something in the future. We're not asking for anything today.
You're not asking us to move any numbers around in this budget?
Not unless you want to.
If you want to, yeah, but no, we were
I'm
not.
going to tell you not to.
We won't say no. We're not going to say
anything
no.
in particular, we were asking for time so you could hear it and understand it.
Yeah, and I'll speak for myself, but I think I feel confident that this is the whole board. We want to be able to help, but we have to understand what the hierarchy of needs are. And it can't be everything, because we know the financial constraint that we're in. So I think what would be helpful is if we came back with some statistical, or some asks, and then some statistics behind those asks. So we're asking for a driver because the statistics you already gave, that makes sense. You know, we've gone through Big Blue Bargains, and we've gone through the grant cycle, and we've had no luck, and this is what the request is. And that is request number one. So like, I don't know how to fill your needs. You know how to fill your needs. So come back and tell me exactly what those needs are. Is that what that is?
So the staffing thing, the recommended staffing plan is combining 2 part-time employees, 2 part-time administrative assistants into 1 FTE. What
That's the outreach director.
No.
That's our
That's
our
just
front
the
desk
person.
admin.
It's
Front
creating
desk admin.
2.5s to a 1.0,
Where
right?
is that in the?
Yes, and it's to provide consistency across a weekly schedule as opposed to splitting it between 2 individuals.
The negative part about that is
Oh, this
then
one.
we go into benefits and
Benefits,
things like that.
exactly.
And so we're taking
There's an additional.
financially,
And
I didn't hear
They
that.
did highlight that it's that there's a benefits cost, a fringe cost, once we do that, but that was part of this year, when we did talk to Heidi, the idea was level service, as we said. We went back and forth a little bit about figuring out if we could anticipate grants or do anything on the grant side, at least, when you and I and Patrick were sitting down, there was concern, number one, would we get them? Or using the formula grant for this when we've relied on the formula grant for other expenses over time. And we didn't want to get in a situation where we were getting one-time revenue to cover a real need, but with no expectation or plan for what we would do in year 2. And I think Heidi
Right.
advocated strongly to get to what they're suggesting today, and I think it'll be a discussion with our future, in the future with the COA, not just the board, but the director. And it just wasn't something when we're looking at level service that we could say yes to this year
Yeah.
responsibly and know that there was a plan to pay for it going forward.
Right.
Patrick, do you happen to know what line item they put their chef under? Because there's no chef line item.
It's part-time, the part-time person. It just doesn't say chef.
Part-time staff?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is that?
14.8.
14.
And for some reason, your part-time staff is going down, went down. So I'll look at this. So part-time, I'll just look at it later.
Okay.
Run some numbers.
I mean, so just to underscore that ask of that front desk administration, you know, a full-time admin person would be so highly beneficial to our daily operations at the center. It would make an immediate impact.
Is there an existing staff member from rec department over there at any given time?
From what?
From the rec department?
At the senior center? No.
No, I mean, in Clark.
Oh.
Specifically, that's what I was learning to. Sorry, I wasn't
Wait,
clear on that question.
It's Charlotte and a part-timer.
The staffing at the Clark building, when rec has programs, it's not always you that's there. No, it's a volunteer or
Senior work off
senior
hours.
tax write-offs.
It could be a senior staffer or it could be the instructor of the class, and that.
Right.
That instructor could potentially be someone that's employed by the town or a third party vendor.
Okay. I was just trying to see if there's any way we could take advantage of staff that may be already there, if it's only for check-in or
Yeah,
any type of other.
I think the other problem is there is a little bit of off-hour usage.
Sure.
Like a lot of the rec department's programming is not the same time as your programming. So the synergy isn't always there. So
Most, and I know this is more about what we've discussed on our community task force, but most towns, the rec department and the senior center are in the same building. So that it's like a light switch goes off around 3 o'clock. The seniors go home and then the kids show up. I think in this regard and what we've discussed and what we've started doing is there are some times where, like during chair volleyball, that we have, I think one of our canasta classes overlaps. So there are people in the building, but at the moment we haven't had staffing. It's not to say that we can't. And most of our staff is senior work-off staff that unlock and lock the doors. And essentially, they don't actually check people in Wayne. They essentially say, oh, you're here for Mahjong, that's upstairs. Or you're here for yoga, that's also upstairs.
I will say the staffing at the senior center is incredible. I mean, they're really trying to do more than physically possible with what they have. And there's always a risk of burnout from the staff. So helping them out helps everybody.
So you'd say, Sabrina, your primary focus would be that admin restructure? That, the two administrative assistants, that's the biggest thing?
I think.
Or for right now?
If we're talking about immediate impact, that would make an immediate impact, positive impact in our daily operations, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for
Appreciate it.
letting us
Thank you.
be here, and we
Absolutely.
promised 10 minutes, and it was a little bit
Yeah.
longer. Sorry.
Well, that was partially our fault, so we'll take the heat for you.
It
we
might
were
have broken the
asking-
Solid Waste Advisory Committee's record.
And I-
We'll go back and check that.
But I also want to say huge shout out to Bob Powell, because he really pulled all
Yeah.
all of this together.
Yes, thank you, Bob, for all his hard work and for all your hard work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great job.
All right, we're moving on to discussion and approval of the Town of Swampscott's environmentally preferred procurement policy, formerly buy recycle policy. And we have Nick.
So Jeff has joined us tonight. He got new information from DEP, I believe, today, was when that was forwarded. This is to fill you all in on the changes between the previous policy and the current policy. When we last met, it was in consent. Jeff's here to walk through it and answer any questions that you all may have.
Sorry, Jeff, was there a red line to this policy?
I did not receive a red line. This is
Okay.
the new policy.
Is this the environmentally preferred policy? Is that what we're talking
This
Correct.
is what we're looking at, but last time I had asked.
Well, I have something different.
Well, this is the,
That was what was provided
this is
today
Today.
by DEP to Jeff, and we wanted to print it out so it could inform the discussion. We did not have it in advance.
Okay.
Jeff had not received it from the Department of Environmental Protection. And so he's here to speak to it, walk through it, and answer questions that may arise.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So this is really a grant-related issue because it's relates to the grants that we get from DEP.
Can you move the mic over a little bit?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So this is really grant-related. We have a grant that we get from DEP each year, and they put certain, of course, wants that they want from the town. So previously, that was the buy recycle policy, which really just dealt with paper, recycled paper and stuff like getting the content quality higher. So what's staying the same is the commitment to purchasing products and recycled content remains central. The cost reasonableness principle, which is favoring environmentally preferable products when price competitiveness continues. Paper reduction strategies such as double-sided printing and electronic communication remain best practices. Collaboration between departments on purchasing orders is still encouraged. So what the new is in this policy, the environmental purchasing policy covers all municipal procurement from office supplies, cleaning products, vehicles, furniture, contracted services. This reflects the full environmental footprint of town operations. The new policy introduces a formal waste hierarchy. Before purchasing new products, departments should consider whether needs can be met through reuse, repair, or donation. The state surplus property program is encouraged as a first resort for equipment and furnishings. The environmental purchasing policy should prioritize durable, long-lasting, reusable, refillable alternatives explicitly over single-use products. Conserving natural resources, including energy and water, is now a named goal. This affects purchasing decisions for appliances, vehicles, lighting, HVAC equipment, and any energy-consuming products or services. Minimizing environmental impacts from pollution, greenhouse gases, and hazardous toxic materials is a new explicit goal. This is particularly relevant for cleaning supplies, pesticides, paint, solvents, and maintenance materials. The new policy directs departments to use the Operational Services Division Environmentally Preferable Products and Services Guidelines as a standard procurement reference. This provides departments with pre-vetted, environmentally screened products and simplifies green purchasing decisions. The Federal Comprehensive Procurement Guidelines, I'll say CPG for now on, establishes minimum recycled content standards for a wide range of product categories beyond paper. Adopting CPG as a procurement standard extends the recycled content requirement across building materials, landscaping products, transportation products, and more. So long story short on EPP, prioritizes reuse and donation before disposal, encourages use of refillable and reusable products, active goal to conserve energy and water, minimize toxin hazardous products in purchasing, and use state surplus property program. And final, by expanding the scope beyond paper products, incorporating waste reduction and resource conservation, aligning with state and federal guidance, the empowering employees to act as sustainability champions, the town can build a purchasing program that is fiscally responsible, environmentally sound, and well-positioned for future DEP grant eligibility. Do you have any questions?
So this would, if adopted, be a policy that, as last year with Gino, I will communicate out. It will be applied to all procurement. I'll work directly with Natalie as well as the chief procurement official in town to make sure that this is something we are not only asking folks to do via sort of the memo and department head meeting, but that we're asking it, as an actual part of the procurement process when something's coming to Natalie, that people have to affirmatively coordinate or confirm to us rather that they are complying as best as possible and can demonstrate that they tried to do these things, whether it's the surplus property or anything else in advance of making a procurement decision.
So one of the things that came to mind is that when there's demolishing happening, whether or not it's private property or government property, i.e., let's say the schools, an old school, historically I feel that we've been challenged to work with the deconstruction efforts that the state has been trying to make. This is anecdotal only. I don't know if we've actually actively done that. I don't know as part of planning if that's ever been discussed. But historically there's been an active work group at the state level with multiple communities to find ways, even at the building material level, the bricks, the big beams, they don't just go to scrap, they actually get resold.
Right.
Yeah, so I just wanted to keep that in mind as we're moving forward and we see any potential future demolishing opportunities, which we will at some point. And we may even want to take a stance, and I'm not ready to even have this discussion, but whether or not we create or become informed, let's put it that way, and inform private entities of their options for deconstruction. Not to make it a mandate, but to make just awareness, let's say.
Yeah, I think certainly if we are reselling anything, that would lower our costs of demolition and disposal of material. So it is completely worthwhile. I'm happy to, if there's someone that you can connect me with, or even the agency where that sits, happy to do that. And then from there, once we have a better understanding of those opportunities available to us, you know, it's certainly something we could put together as a memo, one-pager thing for sort of Marzi and Rich specifically to have available. Again, not that it's a mandate to a private entity, but that here's some information if it's a path you'd like to pursue. But I think step one is if you could help connect me to the right state level agency, and from there we can sort of do both as demo opportunities present themselves with us, and there will be some, or on the private entity side, we can certainly draft something up.
One other quick comment. As we're talking about environmental and particularly maybe it's not covered here under maybe energy and water. I wish Charlotte was here. I stopped by Big Blue Bargains a couple weeks ago, and it was like 80 degrees in the building, and there was no one upstairs in it. And I was just trying to wonder, maybe you can look into it. I should have mentioned it before, but it just came to mind. And I'm trying to figure out, you know, I know that the heating bill of that place is pretty high.
And to be honest, I'm not familiar. I assume there's some BMS that was part of the Green Communities program at some point there. Did we never make improvements?
I thought we
other
did.
than lighting?
No,
So
I thought we changed the steam traps, but that was 10 years ago.
But I can start with Max to see if there's a way just to manage that remotely, but also make sure that Charlotte, Big Blue Bargains, Senior Center, anyone that's in there, if they do walk into a situation that is more sauna than it should be, that we know and we can make sure that we address it.
Thanks.
So I just want to be clear, the policy that existed prior was just with regards to paper waste. So every other paragraph is an addition. Okay. And then have we vetted this to understand, so this is just things that go through the procurement process, but is it a policy that we're asking things that even are outside the procurement process are going to follow these guidelines?
So what do you mean outside the?
I don't know. What do I mean, Nick, outside the procurement process? What does fall outside is there anything that falls outside the procurement?
There's nothing that I would think of immediately that would be outside the procurement policy.
Everything falls into it.
Because we're using state or municipal funds to purchase.
Great. What about the schools?
That's a good question. Does this apply to the schools as well? Yes.
Did the schools know that this applies to them?
We're just bringing it up now.
So the memo went to department heads last year, so I will check with Gino to see if it.
I mean, only because it's such a large impact.
Right.
Is it going to?
They're the bigger consumer.
Yeah, I mean, the school is the bigger consumer to us, 100%. So what I would hate to do is pass a policy, whether it's having to do with grant funding or state mandated, that the schools can't manage.
Right.
So I think there really needs to be some collaboration before this comes to us, that the schools are understanding of it, understand its impact. Is there a monetary impact to this
That's
policy?
my concern.
Of course there's going to be one. So what does that look like?
Right.
So not just at town hall, but for the schools, I worry that we pass a policy that we don't even understand the impacts of that.
So I think some of this also applies to the schools, in particular regarding their food service. And
Yeah, I think it's much bigger than food service, but yeah.
well, it goes to single contain. It goes to
Yeah.
food service is actually a significant amount of waste. So I just wanted to, keep that in mind. That probably has to be covered under single-use products, right? Encourage use of refillable,
But if you
reusable
think
products.
about,
It's outsourced. They don't. So it's
Doesn't matter if
done by
it's outsourced.
Chartwells. So
I
is that then passed on to them in their contract, or
For
how's
the
that?
initial step, Jeff and I can start with Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I want to discuss some of this hazardous waste material, or
Right.
what's the impact on DPW? So there's a significant number of things here that I would think that affect Gino and his trucks, maybe even the fire department. So
It's going to affect everything.
I just,
We're even talking.
I understand we want to tell department heads after we enact it, but I just feel like if there's a fiscal liability to the policy, that we should know that in advance. And I would like to know that before we vote to support it.
Certainly,
And do we have the ability not to support it? And if we don't
Right.
support it, what's the fiscal impact of that?
certainly.
Jeff, this is connected to recycling dividends program, or no? Yes? Okay. So recycling dividends program is a Mass DEP program that provides categories to which you have to check off. And even to be eligible for different amounts, you have to, at the base level, pass this policy. And I think, how much did we get overall last year?
Just over 5,000.
How much?
Just over 5,000
$5,000?
No, RDP funds, we got way more than 5,000.
last year. No, we only get a certain amount every year.
That was more like 12, 13,000.
Do you know, Patrick? Is there another fund?
Oh, that's
For RDP? I thought it was higher, okay. That's all right.
Okay, so if it costs us more than $5,000 to implement the policy, we need to think about whether the policy makes sense.
Right.
Is all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
I agree.
At least you know it's not $50,000. You get it. You
Yeah, I
you
mean,
have
if it's 50, maybe we just talk about
No, at least you
supporting
understand
the
what
policy. But yeah, but I think this,
Touches so many different.
we need some additional details, and if we,
An alternative when we get that could be that we agree with the sort of framework,
right,
but
that we're
it's
gonna.
not a policy we're adopting that can then be punished by DEP for
Correct.
missing.
Right.
So, yes.
We're gonna live by the rules as best we can, but
I just have a quick question. So, on the policy that we received in our packet, Town of Swampscott environmentally preferred procurement policy, is that a policy that we have in place right now?
no, so it's the,
No, we
It's
have
not.
a buy recycle policy that's in place currently.
Okay, by recycle. So, and what we have right here is, we have two things here, but the one question that I had is, it talks about composting, half-ton per week, anything greater than a half-ton per week. And one of the things that really stands out is, the concern that I have is that, are we composting in areas that we could be composting? And specifically the fire department. And I would really like to have some type of conversation, or I'd like to see you have a conversation with the fire chief, because my understanding, I spoke with the admin,
Okay.
Diane Marchese today, because someone said they don't compost. I'm like, of course they compost. It makes sense. So I thought, well, let me double check. And according to Diane Marchese, nope, they don't compost. And to me, that to me is pretty simple. You just, at the end of the day, you take your excess food and you just go to the police department or go up to the dog park and take the excess and put it into the container. It's free to get rid of. I don't understand why that wouldn't be happening, especially with a rodent issue. And, you know, it should be a community value, composting. So I would really like to see that get into place.
Okay.
And I didn't know if this was already there at half-ton. I would just say that we do composting everywhere we can.
The Solid Waste Advisory Committee for the last almost 3 years has asked for additional composting bins, both somewhere in the neighborhood around where Town Hall is, between Elmwood and Burl, and also one possibly down at the bottom of the middle school.
maybe the fire department can host a bin.
So the reason I was bringing that up is that if there is one in the general neighborhood,
Yeah.
perhaps the fire department could also participate in using that.
The only issue around the schools are, they did have a rodent issue in there, so we have
And
a
I-
big conversation.
talking
They
about-
compost.
They have a
Yeah.
composting club.
I think, well, we need to look for the most secure opportunity. It's the same,
Right.
the feedback I've heard, and it's only anecdotal, and it was probably when Diane was still working with me daily, was the idea that we're worried about putting it at Town Hall or at the fire station because of the dense residential area. But that could be a behavior thing where we make sure that we're closing it up. We make sure that it's the most secure way to do it, you know, that it's not just throw it in and some nights it's left open and all of a sudden in the morning you have a significant problem. So happy to work with both you and Wayne on that and come back with feedback, and you all can give us further direction if the feedback and our plan is not sufficient.
What's the timeline on having this policy enacted?
Good question.
They were looking before July.
Before
We can do
July,
that.
so, okay.
Who is
All right, so I
Plenty of time
think,
to get together the information.
yes,
for
great,
you
we
all.
have plenty of time. All right, so then we will table this discussion till additional information is provided.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Could we also,
Thanks, Jeff.
Nick, just get the history of the grant funding we've gotten for the last 5 years?
Yeah, it'll just be a chart of where we've been.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, we have an update from the town's clerk's office. following the annual local election.
So Katie is here with us to give a brief update on the effort, the numbers from the election, and make sure everyone just sort of understands how it went and what went into it. So,
thank you. Yes, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Select Board, excuse me. I'm here to provide an update following the election. Most importantly, I'd like to thank all of the volunteers and the election workers and the senior work-off people that worked with us and on election day. These are dedicated workers. They show up. They're amazing. They provide great support. Everybody always says, what can I do next? Or where do you need me? So that's great having that for the elections. We really appreciate that. Congratulations to all of the winners and the candidates that put their hat in the race. Not only do we need people for turnout, we need everybody getting involved and putting their hat in the ring as well. So that doesn't go unnoticed. The election workers truly make elections work, and that was proved during this election. It was very successful. The day ran smoothly and operationally as expected. And as of this past Friday, we have certified and published the results on the town website. Unofficial results were released on election night around 10:30 p.m. after the polls closed, and those numbers came directly from the tapes printed from the tabulators that evening. And standard practice for most municipalities is unofficial election results do not include the hand counts or the finalized write-ins. It does take a lot of time to get through that stuff. And this year and moving forward, we hired tally clerks to come in at the end of the night. So we have 2 people per precinct, so 1 team per precinct, and they sit down and they go through all of those hand-counted ballots and then all of the names that are written on the ballots as well. The tabulators are not designed to read the names on the ballots. They only read the bubble. So we have to go through and hand record all of those votes. So since this election included 2 write-in races and many write-in seats for town meeting members, that significantly increased the amount of time required to do the volume of write-in ballots. Our tally clerks recorded every write-in name appearing on the ballots and tallied those votes to determine the final votes for those races in each precinct. With the final team leaving the high school at 9:30 p.m. once they finished, I got back to town hall and started doing all of the tapes and putting those into the unofficial results, and that's what was posted that night, was those raw tape results. The tally process was public, and even though nobody stayed, we were there and we welcomed people to stay and watch all of the tally clerks. So up until 9:30 p.m., myself, Mike Bryson, the last 2 tally clerks, and the police officer walked out of the building all together. We brought everything back to town hall. And to prepare the official results after, so Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday morning I published them. I reviewed the hand counts and tally sheets for the write-ins for all 6 precincts, verified eligibility of all of those people, make sure that they are registered in each precinct correctly, they're actually a registered voter, and those went into the official results. So we incorporate everything and we get everything right, so it goes up once, and then when it's official, we don't change anything. That gets posted as it is, and the voters can have confidence in that. So that was something that I wanted to go over with a fine-tooth comb before we published it for anybody. Just going through my notes here, sorry. I wanted to mention accuracy and transparency remain one of the top priorities for the clerk's office, and we wanted to ensure the results reflected a complete and verified count before the certification. And then we have some numbers for you. We had 1,826 voters who casted their ballot. Out of those, 399 voters were during the designated early voting hours at Town Hall. So Tuesday the 21st through Friday the 24th, we had 399 in-person early voters at Town Hall, which was pretty good. It was a steady flow throughout the day. We were fully staffed for that, 3 early voting workers on shift at each time. We were fully staffed, we didn't have any gaps, and all of our workers really did great during that time as well. Prior to the early voting hours, from the time that we have ballots delivered in our office, people have the ability to in-person absentee vote. So the day that we got ballots, somebody came in and they said, I wanted to vote. I said, oh, well, we have ballots. Just wait a second. I can go get you one. And that was up until noon the day before Election Day. So even though we had those early voting hours, you were still able to come into Town Hall if you weren't going to be around on Tuesday to vote in-person absentee. We mailed 99 ballots by mail to voters in Swampscott, a couple out of state, and out of those 99, we got 72 back to us completed. Overall, that made a 14.6% turnout, 3.1% being early voting, 0.5 was vote by mail, 0.2 was in-person absentee voting, and 10.8% on Election Day. So we did see a very large turnout on Election Day. Even though the 14% is kind of small, we had a pretty steady flow. For some of you who saw when you were there in the precincts, we did have a steady flow of people in there. So that was great to see. We really didn't have too much downtime in the precincts. That was good. Overall, it was a great day and a smooth election. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Katie.
Please, go ahead, Wayne.
First of all, thank you for all your work. It was seemed to be executed flawlessly from what I could tell. I have a quick question in terms of the statistics. What is the breakdown by precinct in terms of participation? Do you have those numbers, or could you provide them?
I don't have them on hand, but I
They're on the
could look
website.
them up. They're on the official
Oh.
results. They do go higher in some precincts. 3 or 4 was definitely the highest. 1 and 2 is pretty low.
Yeah.
And then,
That was what I was
what did I miss? 5 and 6 is somewhere in the middle of that, in the 200s, I believe.
Yeah, it's okay. I was really just looking for the target area of lowest participation, which would be precinct 1 and 2, particularly because of the low count that I think everybody noticed for town meeting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
precinct 1, 12.49, precinct 2, 7.41, precinct 3, 19.33, precinct 4, 18.21, precinct 5, 15.24, precinct 6, 13.99.
Yeah, it's precinct 2 is the outlier there.
Okay. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. One is, how do the numbers change on, I noticed on the select board race, the night of the ticket, you had numbers, and then when the official number came out, it might have changed by like 6 or 7, voters in there. So how does that actually happen? If the tape comes out with a number, then how does it change later on?
Sure. So when a ballot can't be read by the tabulator, so say a vote by mail ballot, somebody's at home, they mark big X's on what they want to vote.
Yeah.
The tabulator can't read that. So we put it in a secure bin on election day that's called the hand count bin. That's also for voters that are going quick to work and they get to the machine and it says, oh, we can't read your ballot. And the warden says, oh, well, you can fill out another one. And they say, nope, I'm late for work. I just want to go. We say, all right, you can put it in the hand count. So it stays anonymous, but at the end of the night, that's one of the things that the tally clerks do, is they hand count those ballots. So they go through, they hand count every race onto a tally sheet, and then I get those tally sheets the next day. And then I take those and incorporate those into the full results.
Great. And then the only comment I do have is, I thought you and your folks did an amazing job. I just think the clerk's office always does an amazing job, but this is your first time in Swampscott, and you did terrific, and I really appreciate everything you did. But I also wanted to add that historically, over the last, for example, 5 years, at the end of the night, the clerk reads off the tickets. And I was just wondering if you would consider that in the future, only because you have a night, there's a lot of anxiety, you have people who've been working all day, and when things get hung up, especially in a dark area, it's very hard to total and count it, whereas it's easier if somebody, whoever it is, just reads off the numbers, especially in contested races, if you would consider that in the future.
Sure, I think it's something in the future to definitely be considered. I'm not totally closed off to it. Specifically, the election that night and what I see for the next couple elections is the tally clerks, it was their first time. So when I was at the front of the room and somebody asked me to read off those results, my first instinct was, I have to shut this place down. I have to get everything in order. I have to make sure these tally clerks are good. And also, in the defense of reading the tapes for selected races, I wouldn't want to read just one race necessarily. I would like to make it even across the board. That's something that I'm very big on, is if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it fairly. So to read one tape from beginning to end, it just would have been very time consuming for the amount of work that I had to do that night. Like I said, definitely not closed off to it. Maybe I could designate somebody else to do that job. But that was just the reason for not doing it that night. But yeah, I definitely appreciate that. And I'm open to it in the future. Yeah, I'll make note of that. Thank you. And I appreciate your comments thanking me as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, appreciate the work you've done. All right, Danielle, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Appreciate that you've made it till 9 o'clock tonight.
Thank you for waiting.
And all the work the town's clerk's office does, and thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move on to a discussion and vote of the annual town meeting warrant. Really, this is a focused discussion on the
So
amendments.
the idea was there's 2 amendments that we anticipate, and we added this to the agenda on Monday. I did not get it out to you all via email. I tried to reach out to folks so that folks would be aware. That is 100% my fault. It was posted in time, but I did not communicate it directly out to everyone, so I want to acknowledge that. The idea tonight was, with these anticipated amendments, the colored sheets that we would be seeing on town meeting night, we thought that there was a real benefit to having at least the first discussion. You all do not have to make any determination on what you would want to recommend, but we wanted to talk with the Board of Selectmen tonight and FinCom tomorrow about the ones that we anticipate being there. And so this was a chance to do that well in advance and not at that 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock meeting on town meeting night here in this room and upstairs with FinCom, but to give a little more time, a little more preview and opportunity for deliberation and discussion. So here in front of us are the ones I'm going to go into a little more detail on each of them. So there's 2. And Article 3, which is the current year appropriation, we are recommending the use of free cash in order to purchase recycling barrels. That is a condition of all of the contracts that we are currently engaged in discussions around with every vendor. And so it is an opportunity to, and I will get into why, an opportunity to potentially avoid additional costs in the year ahead. The second one is the Finance Committee has already decided that they wanted to put $50,000 into each the water and sewer enterprise accounts in order to support paving. And I will go into more detail on both of these as well. So let me go to the next slide. Here's some more detail on the recycling bins. So the free cash appropriated this year would allow us to limit potential service costs in the coming fiscal year by purchasing barrel or putting the order forward and starting the 30 to 45 day window for delivery, or 45 to 60, depending on who we go with, in advance of the end of the fiscal year and not waiting until July 1st. I want to acknowledge that this means the free cash does fall below the financial policies as written. And as you can see here, the policy itself is 3 to 5%. Of the budget and free cash, this appropriation would put us at 2.75 if it were adopted, which is $193,000 below that lower end. The idea with this is that we know there's $400,000 in free cash that is coming, that will be closing out to free cash because of the article that rescinded the appropriation of last spring's meeting back in December. So this is not one of the times that we're looking at free cash saying, a hope and a prayer is that it will be there. We have an identified source that on June 30th, we know it closes out. It will be certified early fall. So that time that we spend below the threshold of the policy is necessarily limited, and we also understand how those funds would be replaced. And I'm going to sort of give the background on both of these, unless you would like to stop here and ask what. Why don't we? I think what might be best in this one is to ask any questions you may have now, and then I can move to the second from here, if that works.
This has not been vetted through FinCom yet.
We are talking to them tomorrow. I spoke to the chair about it. They have the entire warrant on their agenda for discussion, so this is something that we will be speaking to them about tomorrow.
And if we were not to fund it through free cash, how would this be funded?
The opportunities would be capital, which would require borrowing for something that is, on the back end. We hope it would last 10 years, probably, but it's really a 7 to 10 year window, probably. And as an individual expense, it's between, depending on if we access grant funds, if we get advantageous pricing from our potential partners, it's somewhere between $50 and $65 per barrel. So it's, a lot of barrels, obviously, but
5,100 barrels on 5,100
residences.
Yeah.
So the idea being that,
What's the dollar amount?
5,100 times.
Between $50 and $65 is the range. And in the discussions with vendors, everyone has told us how great the pricing is, that they can get below combis, but we're still staying towards the combis price, which is in that range.
65-ish.
Right.
On combis, yeah.
So it would be borrowing in the end.
$331,500 if you took the high end.
So the other option is also tying it in with whoever the vendor is. So it's vendor, it's making a vendor deal, leasing through the vendor, capital, free cash.
And
Wait, can you, what? I don't
you
know.
can lease from the hauler. So we would be paying the hauler and either lease to own, but we are paying a premium because they are obviously making a little bit on it as well.
Of course, right.
They have indicated, each of the conversations we've had have indicated that we could purchase through them because they purchase at scale on a regular basis. That would be the advantageous pricing, which would be a pass-through. And then in some cases, the manufacturers of barrels would also rent or rent to own, but again, we don't, at the end of the day, you know, depending on how it's structured within the contract and in the proposal, in one proposal that we have reviewed, it is a portion of their proposal that they say, if you guys buy it on your own, we take that out.
Yep.
If it's in there, it's that plus their escalators year after year. So from our recommendation, this would be it, but obviously from our recommendation for rank ordering, it would be this capital and ideally not do a rent or lease to own because of the costs that would be added to that process.
Okay.
So I think one of the questions that I think is important to discuss is whether or not do we, I think the short term, first of all, being the new guy, I don't.
You're not new on this topic. So.
Well, no, but on the finance side.
Oh, okay.
On the finance side, I just kind of want to just box in what the risks are, right? So on one side, you know, we fall a little bit below the free cash for what, a couple of months?
Right.
So, you know, I'll leave it to our finance experts to determine whether or not that's an issue or risk, or if you guys want to opine on that. The other question is, if we did have to put it through capital, we have the risk of going over the 10% mark.
Right.
That, or we pull something else off of capital to put this in. Then the question is, I don't know how much it would cost in interest to do it that way, right? As opposed to spending all the free cash. God forbid we have an emergency later on in the year, in the next 12 months, we put ourselves at a disadvantage. I think maybe you guys want to opine differently in terms of the risk.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, this isn't all the free cash. This is the free cash that we're aware of today, right? So I think that's important contextually because while we won't be getting free cash in at the rate that we had been in the past because of certain line items like healthcare, and obviously they've increased, so the budget is much leaner, I would assume that there would be some free cash.
We anticipate that there would be free cash. In addition, this year, we are not using it to balance the current fiscal year, which has been done in the past. We are instead moving between and among lines to make sure that the rest of this Article 3 is all funded within the budget. It's just moving appropriations from one place to the other rather than adding free cash to last year's budget total.
I would think the third option of leasing through the vendor, I would think our triple bond rating makes us in a better position to borrow through capital than it would be to pay the premium that the vendor is charging. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and I think the vendor would certainly, there'd be a markup.
Yes, so it's like they're making a portion and then, so to me, the vendor option is not even really an option given the situation we're in.
No, I think the vendor option is still an option only because of their buying leverage and their leasing leverage, and also there might be a vendor who wants to work with us. Like it's still a tool, it's still a negotiating tool.
Yes.
Sure, absolutely. We're not taking it off the table, but I'm just saying, with the facts that I have available to us, it would just seem like
someone might want your business bad enough that they.
That's right, and they're gonna. To me, yeah, it's still a tool. It's a serious tool in the toolbox when we're negotiating things out.
So that's the delta, right? We don't really know where we are in the negotiation process because that could still pan out to be more beneficial.
Exactly.
So I guess the question is, what is the ask tonight? Is it
It's to socialize this idea.
Okay.
You all do not have to opine today. We anticipate preparing one of the colored sheets for an amendment at town meeting for this topic. That was our recommendation. And we would obviously be talking to FinCom again tomorrow. You could wait for their opinion as well in any discussion that takes place there. I just want to give the feedback, and we're going to talk a little bit with Article 4 about sort of where we are in trash as best we can, and Wayne and I touched base a little bit on this earlier. Our goal in looking at the pricing for the service is to get as low as possible. And so I'm not entirely certain that having an additional cost that another one that we're trying to negotiate in addition to
Another piece of
transportation or tipping or ACR on recycling, that is part of why this was our recommendation. It is not, I just want to give that context. That should not necessitate anyone to change their mind, but I wanted to understand why, we did this and why we wanted to at least have the discussion in advance.
Yeah.
So you want to take that out, so you don't have to, that's not part of your negotiation, and you want to focus on other areas? Is that what you're saying?
That's
Is that
one,
your recommendation
that's one
for
opinion.
utilizing free
I'm
cash?
sharing the opinion that led to us coming forward tonight, yes.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that anyone has to agree with it, but that's
We
certainly,
appreciate it.
What is the definition of free cash? Our percentage of free cash needs to equal 3 to 5% of what? What was the number on there?
So we track 3 to 5% of the general fund budget.
General fund budget. Okay, so our general fund budget is going to be increasing, meaning in order to stay within those parameters of 3 to 5, that number is going to get a little bit higher to
Yeah, it
stay
does every
within.
year.
Right. So my worry is going below these numbers or even getting close to those numbers, because we never know what could happen. And so that's my only reservations at having to make a decision about this at a later time.
But it would be replenished, correct? Is that what you're saying? So we would
More
go
than
down to
replenished.
2.75, and then you're projecting it would go back up within how much of a swing? How many
So
months?
even at the high end of the dollar number, it's $331,500, and we know that $400,000 is coming to free cash at least.
Right.
400,000 was what was rescinded at town meeting in December. And so that is money that, as of December, we all know that
Right.
it closes out on June 30th, free cash. The certification of free cash
Right.
is late summer, really early fall, so I would say
So you're
September.
talking about a couple months swing of it dipping below
I would say
that
3 to 5, just to
self-imposed
be safe,
guideline,
3 to
right?
4.
Right, yes.
And just for context, if it's helpful, we started this fiscal year with 3.3 million in free cash, which was 4.3% of the budget, roughly.
So right in the middle.
So we've obviously appropriated over $900,000 at this point throughout the course of the fiscal year, which draws down. And that's been the steady trend the past few years.
Okay.
And then it'll replenish.
And we also use the free cash at times to offset the tax bill.
Yep.
Oh, we talked about we weren't going to do that.
Well, that's what we say every year. And then we get to it and we have to, we look at it.
So when do we anticipate knowing a little bit more as a result of this trash negotiation? How much further do you think? What do you anticipate timeline-wise?
We are having our second or more meeting with everyone.
Okay.
There are some tomorrow. We had conversations today. My goal is that we would have a real, strong, specific price in mind. Our goal is to have something, it would be, this is number 4, Article 4, there would be an amendment to make up the delta between what we're carrying and what the final number is
Right.
for town meeting, so a week from Monday. We've got refined pricing from more than one vendor. We have and I'm trying to be as delicate as possible,
Right.
but we've been engaged in conversations to understand, to make sure that the proposal they submitted, our understanding matched theirs, to push them on specific items that we thought were high, to explore opportunities where we thought, can we do something where our cost is a pass-through to us so that we are not
Yep.
paying that 5 or whatever % escalator is in a year-over-year increase. So it is active and ongoing.
Fluid.
There are meetings this week, and there will be meetings at the beginning of next week. So we're engaged in it. 2 of the members of the board have been in just about every discussion that we've had. And then there's been a couple that Gino and I have had as well to try to continue them sharpening their pencils is the phrase that keeps getting used, but doing everything they can to get the actual price down.
So I have 2, comments / questions. Number 1, I still don't understand why it would, and maybe FinCom can touch on this tomorrow, why it would be financially prudent to lease to own, because as the value of the barrel is depreciating, the cost to us is increasing because of the escalators every year. So I don't understand that sort of financial philosophy, but maybe they can talk to that tomorrow night. The second thing I have is, if we're not paying for, I mean, to me, and again, I'd be happy to be proven wrong through FinCom or otherwise, to put it through capital, it's going to affect the taxpayer, correct?
Everything's going to affect the taxpayer.
But I mean, this is already money we have. So isn't this the least affecting?
It has already affected.
It's already affected the taxpayer. It is not an additional burden.
So this is $400,000 that'll be sitting in the bank, bringing in revenue of 3.25%.
Bringing in,
Interest.
Interest.
Right. Every
But I
decision,
mean-
every decision we make affects the taxpayer, so.
I know, but I'm
One-
saying, the interest that we are getting from this, is it gonna offset the interest we're paying in capital?
I would say probably pretty close. If you're doing a ban right now, bans are going for what, 347, you're making 325?
Yep, and if I could just add to, something like a trash barrel does not, in the eyes of, what we look at for borrowing, have a long useful life. So we have limitations we drop into with the state, and I would call that departmental equipment, solid waste operations, you can probably borrow for 5 years.
So
at
that
most.
means,
So you're
getting-
pulling, $80,000 or
Which
so
is no
into the
different
budget.
which is no different than over a 5-year contract.
right,
Yeah.
right, so,
Just keep
so
it in mind.
I just don't see I don't see a financial benefit to not spending the free cash. And if the detriment doesn't outweigh sort of a net conversation where we're taking free cash, and it just seems a little bit like six of one,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
Doesn't
part
another-
of it is I feel like I'm echoing, part of it is a negotiation strategy.
Sure.
So I want to just keep that in mind,
Yep.
that we have that as a tool.
Yep.
Okay. But understanding the preference one way or the other, I think is,
Yeah, they're all,
just talk.
they're all
it
good
through. Yeah.
those are all good factors and good topics. So as a rule of thumb, you often look at cash is king. And you want to protect your cash the best you can. So if you feel that, okay, we have this cash and we can spend it, that's one thing. If you say, okay, we've got this cash, I'm going to hold on to this cash as long as I can to increase my financial policy, or to make sure that, we are leveraging out the vendor in different ways. You just want to look at everything in different components. But where I come from is cash is king, and you want to protect your cash. And if you have a better position of leveraging out a purchase, use that position. But I think these are all important factors, and we just have to wait until we're done negotiating and pull the plug.
Patrick, did you have a professional opinion at all that you wanted to maybe offer up?
I think in terms of considering free cash is best practice used for one-time purchases. This would be like a one-time, okay, we're deploying all these barrels at once to all these households, similar to what was done, with trash barrels years ago. And so that's certainly a suitable option to consider. I would just put that out there.
Is it considered, okay, so we have major expenses, and I'm not trying to flood the conversation, but we have, millions that we're paying over the next 6 years, right, into the pension fund, right? If we were to stretch this burden across 5 years, does that impact anything at all in terms of, instead of paying it all up front, I'm
The
saying?
debt service, does it impact anything? Is that what you're asking?
Just in terms of
If we were
the
to borrow?
general future budget, looking over the next 5 years, does it make sense to stretch this over a 5-year capital? If
Is
it's
there a
bonded or
benefit?
grouped? I'm just asking,
I
as an
think
open question.
there's a benefit to what Mary Ellen's been saying in terms of making sure we have as much cash as possible on hand. When you look at paying for the debt over 5 years, that is money that's coming out of operating. and like we're paying, it's part of the balance of everything that's gonna be
Right.
paid.
It just goes to our debt burden
In
service.
debt burden, right. So
Yeah.
like, and there's a million levers there with projects that move forward, don't move forward.
Yeah.
Come in less than, we don't borrow as much as we had authorized, you know, but just very simply, the debt service is paid as part of the levy out, you know, it's like, we're all cutting that same pie for operating.
Do you need a vote from us
No.
tonight?
No.
Okay.
And this is something that I think this brief discussion has certainly shown, I'm sure there'll be more discussion tomorrow. I think it's worth socializing in advance, so that it is, again, the idea that something would be coming to you all that night without any discussion at all like this is,
Yeah, no, this was helpful.
but
Yep.
opportunities to improve on our side, communicating both of these.
The
The other,
paving?
can I go to this
Yes,
one?
please.
Yeah. Okay. So this was one that FinCom already opined on. There was a discussion that they had about some of the cuts that Gino provided when we asked him to sharpen his pencil, and we were going through the budget process. As I think Gino has done a million ways in support of this community over years, he looked at his budget and said, you know, sort of the break-fix paving, the work that's done when there's a water main or a sewer issue that we emergency cut it open and then go back and fix the roadway after the fact. He said he could reduce that number and he will find a way to do it. And, you know, with a lot of discussion and certainly a huge shout out to Liz Smith who looked at this specifically, you know, this is money that is important for Gino to have. And so in the course of the discussion, they wanted to put in, it's $50,000 both for water and sewer, and it's that break-fix paving. His goal, you know, repeated again today when I talked to him, is to not have to spend it all if he doesn't have to, in which case it closes out to free cash. But this is an opportunity that they highlighted as a need, and, you know, I wanted you all to be aware of it because this will also be an amendment for that night on one of the colored sheets. This is in Article 4, which is next year's. It's the budget that we're voting on for operations. The one that we talked about for is Article 3, so that we can do that if we decide to move forward with the purchase before July 1st of the barrels. This is also another one where we should expect to see, and this is, Wayne, where you want to jump in anywhere, we are actively engaged in negotiations. We are carrying a number in our budget that we've discussed here several times. We do not know exactly what the final number will be. Don't know if it'll be that, a little bit higher, or what. But we are working with all of the interested parties that have responded. Everyone is still engaged, and we're at the point of basically asking for best and final pricing with each of them. We think we've gotten to a real good level of understanding on the one that we did the deep dive meetings with so far, and then we have another one tomorrow with one of the respondents. So we anticipate a similar discussion that really helps us understand all the nuances that they had. We can ask very direct questions and very nuanced questions to get a full understanding of what each offering is.
Just to kind of remember, there's the multiple parts of this contract, and each part of the contract is bid a little bit differently. So when you're comparing all the numbers, it's not just like you're looking at one bottom line number.
Right.
It's not. Well, it ends up eventually that it is, once you
Services
sort
are,
it
but
out.
not the way you bid them.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So while it's transparent to the resident, there's the hauling charge for recycling, the hauling charge for waste, there's the tipping fee for waste, there's the tipping fee for recycling. Then there's the part that you want to be able to get back if the recycling has value to it, right? There's contamination questions, and all of that, all of these pieces are in play. So that's why it's kind of difficult to say, just give us the bottom number.
Right.
Because it's just, that's how complicated these contracts have become over the last 10 years.
And the parts of it too are that this contract is going to be different than our last contract as far as we did not participate in a program where we received money back for our recycling.
Right.
And that is one of our options now that, you know, it's just an option that we're looking at right now as far as what benefit that'll be to the community.
All right.
Okay.
So those are the ones that you can anticipate. Those are the items that I just wanted to make sure that there was at least a brief discussion on. Happy to answer any questions throughout the process if you all want to reach out to me, but also Mary Ellen and Wayne on the trash stuff have all been very actively involved throughout the process too.
I think it'd probably be a really good idea if the three of you did have a conversation with Nick, just so that you're really updated
Yeah.
and you have you can put your opinion in there?
I have.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Okay.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the discussion on the North Shore IT Collaborative.
I just wanted to give a brief update where we are. We've talked several times about this. This was explored before I even started the idea of looking at this as our alternative. So we have pricing. We're at the stage of discussing what the intermunicipal agreement would look like, which would ultimately obviously come to you all as well. It's a standard agreement that they have with each of their 8 communities. The way it works is we're basically applying to be a member. When in talking to the folks in Danvers, there has not been anyone who has not been welcomed when they've expressed an interest. So we've certainly been moving forward with the understanding that we will, ultimately get to that point. The annual payment to the collaborative is part of that. So there's a sort of membership payment that provides us with strategic support that we do not have now. Right now, we just have the managed service provider, which is our current vendor. Something breaks, they fix it. There's not a lot of, future proofing or planning. And part of what the collaborative does, because of the process and the team that's been built up in Danvers, is to think about municipal government and how technology can be better leveraged. They've been working on everything from AI agents to making sure that we're getting the best pricing possible for managed service providers. The support, the IT support day-to-day is with a firm that they negotiate with a scale that we could not get with our 125 employees on our own. That allows us to have a much better price. They have 3 tiers within their service options. We are likely to start at the top tier just to get them onboarded, get us onboarded, make sure things are working, but we can switch throughout the year. If we anticipate or see a need, or if a need develops, we can go from being first, second, or third tier. But certainly, as we get through the onboarding, there will be a time that we have more time on site and more regular access to them. There's also a one-time hardware upgrade for the firewall, which is a one-time payment every 5 years. It's to make sure from their end that everyone has the same technology and hardware, so that working with primarily the team that's based out of Danvers, but also with our managed service provider, it is consistent across the board for them, both their access and our protection. It is also exceeding the standards that are required by our insurance for liability. And that's part of their sort of ongoing goal, is as they see those needs, as they see things that are coming up in liability insurance, they are addressing them in advance so that we're not getting a message from either our insurer or from our managed service provider saying, hey, there's an expense coming up because you need to worry about X. That's part of what the collaborative looks to do on our behalf. So that is like a very high-level update of where we are. As I said, we have budgeted for and anticipate them being on board beginning of the fiscal year. It will be a reduction in our managed service provider expense. And I think we could anticipate going forward, and I've actually had a couple of residents reach out directly to look at on the town hall side, the town operation side, making sure that in future years we do come to FinCom and to you all with infrastructure needs in advance, because right now there are a lot of old machines, old laptops, and even on the server side, things that may require replacement. But when we've talked to our current provider about it, we said, what can be cloud-based now, what needs to stay on premises? There's not a lot of that sort of higher level strategic thinking, and that will be part of that future discussion to say, can we get onto a cycle that, every 5 years even, we are looking at replacement of hardware, and then also what can we move from on-premises to the cloud appropriately and with a cost savings. So those are things that we anticipate.
Does any of this cover the website?
The website is Civics Plus and is operated by town hall staff. And so the website itself was, I think, 2 or 3 generations behind when I started. They had already engaged with Civics Plus to get up to the most up-to-date version. One of the things that we want to do, and I've talked about this here, Wayne, previously, is to get people on the notification side. Certainly, we would keep OnSolve as our sort of reverse 911 until the end of that contract and look at that more holistically.
Okay.
But email notifications around agendas or meetings or things that are changing on the calendar. This new version of the Civics Plus website allows someone to go in and say, I want to get notifications when everything happens. I want to get it just for the planning board. Like every time there's a new agenda, you would get an email. Or I want to get everything that happens on the calendar or something like that.
I think we had that before, if I remember correctly.
I do not think that it was
maybe not functioning?
Used or functioning, and it's one of our goals going forward.
So when we have, I see this all the time. The community's seeing this. I get feedback. about the fact when you obviously Google something, all of the links changed. This is common. I think everybody's aware of this. The question is this something we're dealing with on our own?
We have requested support from Civics Plus to request that the site is recrawled by Google.
That was what I was going to ask.
The difference is not that the information is not there. Just you get the broken link, then you have to search on the town website search.
Yes. That's what I tell people.
Whereas the old link used to be, swampscottma.gov/node/selectboard. Now it's /selectboard. There's a significant but not big change that's happened.
Google needs to do its intentional recrawling and figure out how to connect it.
It connects the search with the end result instead of the search with the previous end result.
Do you have an idea of how much longer that will take? If someone was to ask me, when will this be resolved? Is this weeks?
I'm happy
months?
to continue to tell you here at each meeting. Even the going live was a not swift process. We have.
Is this a Civics Plus problem or is this a Google problem? Like if we have a contact at Google, do you want it?
It's a change that needs to happen on the Civics Plus side. It needs to be requested, and there also needs to be an addition to. There's like 2 spots on the page where language needs to be added into one of the links that when we've tried to do it, we have not been able to do it.
Okay.
Any IT-related questions? And as I said, I think.
go
you
ahead.
and
I have discussed the collaborative. My question to you is always first, can we regionalize? Where can we have cost savings? Can we have better services? And this is an instance where we've actually been able to.
It appears all of those are
It
true.
appears all of those things are true. So this is like a little bit of a unicorn situation, and I don't want to lose the ability to be able to go forth and execute on it. We will actually be getting better services because we will be getting services that are forward-facing.
Yes.
They're not just present day, fix it, it breaks, we fix. It is looking forward, how we continue IT services at Town Hall, which are future forward-looking in the sense that we are able to say like, okay, we'd like to be able to do this, and now we have somewhere to go to direct us to how to facilitate that, what the pricing looks like, whether or not it's feasible or not, or what other towns are doing it in the collaboratives, what is the feedback from those towns. And so this opens a door that we haven't had before, and I appreciate that this is available to us and excited to see it come to fruition.
And the other piece that we'll be able to further implement is we had sort of EOTS, which is the state IT. They do work with municipal and school IT departments. They did their security audit, which we had requested early on this calendar year. They listed a bunch of things, and some of it is like, Active Directory hasn't been cleaned up over time, so people are leaving, they're shutting off access, but we're not removing the profile. So the profile exists as a risk because it's still another one to try to get into. So there was that stuff. There was some hardware stuff on site, the server room. And so I have talked to HiQ about that. They're sort of chipping away at some of those things. But in talking to Colby and the folks at the collaborative, they were excited because that's one of the first things they ask each community to do. It's a free service EOT will provide to us, and then we have a roadmap to work with the new managed service provider to make sure we're addressing individual risks.
What does EOT stand for?
Excuse me, EOTS, it's like the Executive Office of Technology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's EOTTS though, or 2 S's.
Technology and Security Services.
Yeah.
There we go. I knew it was in there somewhere.
Not an
And so
EOT.
it's basically the state IT that was consolidated under Governor Baker, but this is a service they offer to municipal and also to school IT departments.
So when does this, do we?
Actively
vote on
engaged,
this?
there is not a vote. I wanted especially the new members to know and to say where we are. We have been talking about this
going
for a
around
while,
this
but we've
for a
been
while.
talking to Colby, and certainly since Shannon came, it's been really useful because we've been running down individual questions and use cases in Danvers, not only from her experience, but from her contacts. So it's been really helpful.
So this will go before the collaborative. The collaborative, we hopefully will not be their first rejection, and then we will vote to support it.
It's an
yes?
intermunicipal agreement, so I would bring
Okay.
that back before you all.
Great.
Okay, great.
So we did do business with them in 2024, and they were really,
On good terms.
well, they were great. They were just really amazing, and yes, we did leave on good terms. And they really could have, the vendor that they put in touch with could have really taken advantage of us financially, and I was shocked and amazed at how great they were with us.
Fantastic.
So, but I do have a question. Do other municipalities, do they do any combination with their schools? Like, is there any possibility of
I've
schools
asked
in
about
town
that.
combining?
I've asked about that, certainly on the procurement side, just at scale.
Yeah.
The initial reaction, not just here, but in general, is on the hardware side, there's concern about jeopardizing their E-rate, which is they get a significant discount from the federal government or subsidy from the federal government for hardware. The sort of demand on staff is a moving target that many communities, including us, have wrestled with, because the need on a daily basis in this building with this many users is way beyond ours.
Right.
So it's almost like, is there a way, and it might be after we spend some time with them and get our stuff together, that we say, can we come to some agreement where there's a portion of a full-time employee that we are getting at town hall? Because the demand here is like the keyboard, someone lost a letter on a keyboard, that is a type of thing they would fix, but it's also up to Wi-Fi's not working anywhere. Like, there's just, the full
Far-reaching.
demand here is much wider than us. And it's always been a question of, like, if we need someone and they need someone, who's the priority? And it's definitely something to explore. I think this would really give us an opportunity to go from a current state that is not great, although working, to something that has a pathway. We're making improvements. We've addressed things. I mean, one of the things they talked about is, like, it's really, they're looking to build a zero trust environment so that we are much safer across the board and we're not exposed.
Right.
But then when we have EOTs come in, we have a couple of hundred Active Directory users that needed to be turned off immediately, because over the course of years, employees have come and gone, emails have been turned off.
No, they actually pointed that out to
Yeah.
us. Yeah. And they pointed that out to us, and in return, we gave that to our company to shut these things off. So it's a little concerning to hear that it wasn't done.
I agree. And we did have HiQ looked at the report with us, and I also called attention to some of the physical cleanup and things that needed to be done in town hall. The physical stuff has been done. Some of the technology or the software back-end side has been done, but not everything yet.
Does this cover the phone system?
No. So right now, our phone system runs off the server in town. That is something that we would need to look at as a different procurement if we were to move beyond that. And I think that is a good example of something that we can move off premises. Both our email and phones are running physically off a box in our building that like during one of the snowstorms, I had to come to literally unplug and plug it back in. And so ideally, although it goes from a, once every however many years hardware cost to a subscription, I think there's some real benefit. And it also provides us the opportunity in the future, if we were to ever look at something like COVID again, where you could have soft phones and availability to be answering from wherever, if for some reason something horrible happened. So that is something we've talked about.
So we're not voice over IP currently?
It's running out of we have, instead of a subscription cost
I
off
understand
premises,
that. We're VoIP, but we just happen to be running internal instead of, that's all I
Yes.
wanted to just
Sorry.
make sure I understood.
Yep, misunderstood.
Nope, I didn't ask the right question. It's okay.
But that, to me, that's the idea that, like, I've had literally 2 or 3 residents have said, I'd love to talk about the hardware needs, not because they sell, but because they want us to be planning for future IT and what we should be doing. They're residents that are not engaged with, in any way in sales. They work in IT somewhere. And
The only reason I bring it up is last year we had a ton of problems with the phones. They were always down. It was a real problem. So that's kind of why I led to this, to ask.
I think we have a lot of old infrastructure, and there's cost associated with all of it. But again, it will probably make sense to look at a subscription model that's off premises as opposed to a significant hardware expense inside that then needs to be supported in person there by a single individual or a single managed service provider. Whereas if we have a subscription to someone, VoiceStream, Windstream, whoever, like a large firm, there is expense to that, but they also are 99.9% uptime. They have multiple places to route things and make it work. So that's part of the longer term discussion for sure.
Okay, well, we will come back. Oh, sorry. Did you have something?
Nope, good.
So we will come back to this conversation, hopefully when the gates open and we can walk through them.
Great.
Let's move on to employment contracts.
So for the employment contracts, we have a number of department heads that have both been out of contract or are new that we wanted to bring before you. I just wanted to highlight, especially for the new folks, and I've had some brief discussion with them, the list of peers and super peers that we've been benchmarking against for a number of years here. Here they are. They are demographically similar, geographically similar. There's, you know, a number of different criteria that went into this in the past, but these are the ones that we have been looking at for each of these contracts. Obviously, for the 3 new employees, we had discussed with the previous board, at least, so for the 3 members that are here, the range. Everyone is at the lower end of that range on their contracts. And then on the 2 that are renewals, which have been out since Gino was acting, actually. So it's Gino's and Marzi's are the 2 that are before you this evening. Those are, you know, comped to peer communities, and again, well within what we think is appropriate for their experience, expertise, and the role that they play in town.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer questions.
So I'm just a little bit confused, because I thought that we had meetings, and we talked about all of this. I actually thought that all of this was resolved. So to see this on the agenda, I was a little surprised. And then I don't have any, I didn't get any of these contracts in my packet on Friday, and I can't open, I've been out of town on Monday and Tuesday, so I haven't been able to look at anything here. And the fact that Gino, Marzi, and the library director isn't here, these are,
The library director's not in here.
right, these are people we talked about, and now here we are in May, and they still don't have contracts. And I don't know, are these contracts based on our previous conversations?
They
in
are.
Executive
They are.
session?
Yeah.
So we're in that ballpark.
We are
Yeah.
at the numbers that were discussed in
Okay.
executive session
All right.
for each of those, and then for Patrick,
So for example, if we do not see a contract, then it's because it has not been
resolved.
settled in
Right,
the
there's one person
prior
that hasn't.
discussions that have
Okay.
occurred.
And we're saying that Patrick and Liam, 2 individuals in the finance department, they were working without a contract?
We hired them.
Right,
I'm asking to put a contract before you for a vote.
got it.
One question. Sure. So it's my understanding that the pension board, that I don't know, I don't know if it's Patrick or his position, he gets a stipend as well, is that correct? Or am I misunderstanding that?
I am not receiving a stipend for my work on the retirement board.
Retirement board, okay.
And I do not believe it was in the previous finance director's contract either.
No.
Okay. Thank
She
you for the
received a
clarification.
stipend.
I can go back and check the contract again, but
She did, but I don't believe it was part.
Wasn't
of
in the
her
contract, but she received a
Separately
stipend.
with the board, yeah.
Can you say it one more time, Marilyn?
The previous town finance director did receive a stipend
Okay.
from the retirement board, but that stipend was not in her contract.
But it was paid by the town?
It was paid by the pension board, would advance that money to the town, and then the town paid the director of finance.
And it wasn't detailed in her employment contract?
no.
No.
That is
So-
not standard practice. That's very strange.
Only reason I know that is I had a meeting to better understand
Yeah.
the pension system, and I caught, that was explained to me that way. So I just, that's why I'm asking the question.
So if we receive any funds from the retirement board,
Yes,
we would amend Patrick's contract
happy to.
in order to facilitate those funds to get to Patrick in a transparent fashion.
Happy to.
So what it was the retirement board was subsidizing the contract.
So it wasn't a
That doesn't make
subsidy.
It's not a stipend then.
It's not a
It
stipend,
would
then it's a
be-
subsidy.
No, that's totally different.
They would have been subsidizing the town.
But a stipend means an additional benefit, right? So,
It's like a bonus.
so because of the work that she did for that board, she would receive compensation that would be provided by that board through the town to her. But it sounds like what it's actually saying is her contract was what it was.
Right.
And then
In
it was,
addition-
a portion of it was paid for out of the funding that came through the retirement.
That's my understanding, but Patrick should probably look into that, give us real clarity.
Sure.
Oh, Nick.
We could, oh, sorry.
In fact, no, either one of us can talk.
Well, he's on the retirement
Yeah,
board,
I
and
know.
He's on the board, he's right.
He's on the
in front of
board,
it.
and he's the
I'm off
accountant.
to the side, but,
Okay.
I mean,
Board
Nancy's in the building,
member-
so we
Yeah,
can
it's-
figure this out.
Compensation is voted as part of the retirement board's budget for their expenses. So that is voted on in that budget.
And they may have said, We're not giving a stipend anymore.
Wasn't discussed, but I am not receiving.
We will
Okay.
speak to Nancy.
Right, but the way the contract reflects right now is our understanding of the way that Patrick should get paid.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So then I would entertain, unless there's additional questions, a vote to approve these employment contracts. And then we would sign them.
I will make.
Yeah,
that
we have
motion.
signed,
Yep,
they've
okay.
signed with the expectation.
Great.
Or hope, rather.
They've all been signed already by the employees.
And the library director is a continuing ongoing negotiation. What we had spoken about in executive session is subject to future further negotiation.
Yep.
Okay.
I would make that motion, Kate.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second?
Just ask a quick question, clarification?
Yes,
Sure.
accept Ted's second and then continue discussion. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, so as the new guy, again.
Yeah.
So these were conversations, obviously, that happened in executive session. Okay.
Yep.
So because I was not privy to those conversations, I'm going to, well, I feel I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so there's a motion and a second on the table. All in favor of supporting the employment contracts of Patrick Letty as Finance Director, Liam Braley as Treasurer Collector, Katie Dupont as Town Clerk, and Marzi Galaska as Director of Community and Economic Development, and Gino Cresta as Director of Public Works. Say aye.
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 Abstain.
Abstaining.
Abstain.
Okay, so that's 4 with 1 abstaining. Thank you. Now we move on to the ominous future dates.
Just wanted to give you all a discussion an opportunity to discuss. If you want it,
Yes, so town meeting obviously is forthcoming. There's, for those of you who haven't been so lucky to be on the board, we typically meet right before town meeting. Sometimes we schedule, even the second night, we schedule a select board meeting in case we need to meet, and it's duly posted. And then because of the way May falls, the question is, do we meet again after that, or do we just go right on to June? We would then meet, the 3rd, probably the 3rd and the 17th. We also need to discuss, in the summer, we typically move from Wednesdays to Tuesdays to support the summer concert series on Town Hall lawn, which happens on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So if there's a conflict with Tuesdays, we can discuss Thursdays with the new board. So just want to get some of these things nailed down so that we're meeting expectations. So the first question would be if everybody's comfortable with the meeting before town meeting being the second May meeting, or if people want to have another meeting the last week of May.
You want to do it like the night of, from like,
Yeah, we typically do it
4:30
right.
to
We
6:30?
typically hold it the Monday that town meeting begins. We hold it at 5 or 5:30, right before town meeting. And then, again, we would post another one for the second day also, just in case. But that would be the only other meeting in May.
okay.
So that's
That's a
okay,
good idea.
so that's fine.
Fine.
We'll
Yep.
do that. For June, the tentative meeting, when does the rec concerts
Concerts?
begin?
I believe it's July and August.
Okay, so great. So for June, then we would keep Wednesday, which would be the 3rd and the 17th. I would also propose at some point in June, we have the last couple of years held a workout session or a breakout session for the select board members, not including town staff, on a Saturday, which we discuss our own hopes and dreams of what might happen on select board.
Sounds much better than the workout session.
Yeah, the workout
That
session,
sounds
that's
way
Charlotte
more
Saturday
fun.
before the
Yeah.
farmer's market. So I would propose one Saturday in June to do that. Preferably not the 20th, because my birthday is the 19th, and I don't want to see you guys on the 20th, no offense. But maybe the
You in morning,
13th
or-
or
It's usually.
just
next
at
day.
all, really. I would just, love
Yeah.
not to have to do that. So the 13th or the 27th would be the 2 dates. You don't have to say now, but we can get back to Shannon if people would email her. if
13th
I-
or the 27th? you
The
said?
Saturday, the 13th, or Saturday, the 27th. It's generally like we've done it from 9 to 12 or something like that. It's still an open meeting, the public can join, but it's a little less formal. We are at Town Hall in the conference room. We've put up sticky notes all over the walls in prior years. We've wrote out our own
Goal
goals.
setting.
We've collaborated, so we should pull those goals out and see,
What
what
we
actually have we
accomplished.
accomplished, and what's left on the list, what can carry over if they align with our new members. So I would like to do that on either the 13th or the 27th, so if folks can give feedback, that would be great.
Okay.
Finally, in July, we'll move to Tuesdays unless that is a conflict for anybody. And then we are going to talk to Tri-Committee about getting something on the books for July on a
Yes.
conversation about financial guidelines.
Yep.
Great.
So that is the plan for the next, and then this will take us through August, meeting on Tuesdays, so it would be the 7th and the 21st for July, and the 4th and the 18th of August. And if people have planned vacations, just let us know. We can always bump it a week and do the 2 out weeks instead of
Wait, what was August again?
the 4th and the 18th.
Okay.
We could always
What
bump.
did we decide for May? What did we come to?
May, we said we're just gonna do town meeting, the 2 meetings before town meeting, or the 1 and the 1 extra, and we're not gonna meet again until June 3rd.
Do people go to the concerts?
Yes.
Yes.
No, I did last year. It's just, I noticed
Hmm?
there weren't a whole lot of select board members there, and I'm just wondering.
Do you wanna share a blanket?
I only went to the ones that I liked the music.
Oh, no, I'm on the
You
porch.
can chase
Yeah,
my kid if you
you're at
want.
Kathy's house. You're not even at the
I'm
town
having
hall.
dinner.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm I go to a party.
yeah, that's right. You go VIP seating.
I go to Tuesday night party.
We're sitting in the commoner section,
Right.
just on the blankets.
I'm in VIP.
Katie and I went to Harry Potter last year.
Yeah, that was, so on Thursday nights, there's generally movies,
Right.
and that, you'll find maybe Ted, Danielle, and I will be more frequently at those.
Depends on the music. If I go, I don't like country typically, but.
So, but yeah, I mean, they're very
work
well
on that.
attended. I think Sandwalkers
I know,
is still
sure.
going to
I'm
be
open.
subsidizing some of those, which is great.
They do movie night.
They do the movie night, yep. Okay, so
And then
that
after-
is,
After Labor Day, you go back to Wednesdays?
Yeah.
yeah, that's the plan.
Okay.
That's the plan. And listen, it's all up to us. So
Flexible.
if Wednesdays don't work, we can switch gears. It's just
Yep.
traditionally how we have scheduled. Just, we need advance notice. So we're gonna do Tuesdays for the summer. So if we want to discuss going to a different day other than Wednesday, let's do so before August.
So when we do Tuesdays, that just means you gotta break out the plan and the, obviously.
Agenda.
The agenda has to be done. You don't get that extra little
By Thursday.
day.
It's
Yeah.
posted Friday publicly, and
Yeah.
you all will get everything earlier. Probably, my goal would be Wednesday.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
So it is a additional constraint on town
It's ju-
hall, but
it's just a different schedule.
It's just a
It's not
different
a
schedule.
constraint.
It's not a constraint. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Good way to put it.
But Nick has already committed that he'd be happy to make sure it happens if that's the will of the board, and so here we are. All right, so I think that's it for future dates, unless anybody wants to discuss anything else.
The only question I have is on the warrant, do we have to say who's covering what articles?
In terms of the motions and speaking,
Right.
yes.
We didn't
And
do
so we're doing the motions meeting with Ryan, town council, town clerk on the 13th, or 14th rather. So that they'll have been drafted and circulated, but we'll all be talking. But yes, I can coordinate individually or with the chair on who from your board would like to speak on each article.
I nominate Ted and Wayne to speak on
Thanks.
all.
Well, Ted has a lot of experience,
Too
so.
much, too much.
I don't even know if we really have to speak. I mean, we haven't had to speak except for,
We have, I
We
guess,
did
a
at
couple
special
of them,
town
right?
meeting.
we just have to say, a couple of them we do, but we just have to say
At least the
select
one.
board's in
'cause-
favor.
Yeah, so
Correct.
why don't you have that meeting on the 13th?
14th.
I'm sorry,
I
the
got date
14th,
wrong.
and then
The moderator.
we can
No, those
chat, and then if there's anybody who's uncomfortable speaking, let me know, and I will not add you to the list. Otherwise, we'll just rotate. If you have a passion for one of the
Ted can
warrant
speak on the
articles,
fires,
please tell me, and I will make sure you get assigned that one.
burning fires. Ted.
That's a citizen's petition, so we don't have to talk
Well,
about
you don't
it.
even need to.
Okay, the consent agenda.
You take out the minutes because I
Yeah.
just got them today.
Sure, we
And
will take
also
out the
the-
minutes.
Hawker peddler license for Joseph Sanchez.
Yes, do you want to talk about it, or you want to?
I just have a question on it.
Oh, go ahead. Well, you ask it now, and then maybe we
Oh,
don't have to
okay.
remove it from the consent agenda?
Perfect. Says need Board of Health to sign.
I had the same
if they're doing
question.
food, and they're doing temporary food establishment selling tacos and T-shirts. Has that been?
Shannon?
I can speak on that.
Okay.
So Jeff had questioned whether he needed to fill out an application or not, so he has been working with Jeff on what he needs, and he,
Thanks, Finn.
I believe he is all set, but I can confirm.
So if we were to approve it, it would be conditioned upon that
Perfect.
being.
And it's only for those locations, it's only for
Yeah, the
the
farmer's
events,
market.
Yep.
special events.
Yes.
and-
He revised the location.
He revised.
Feedback.
Right.
Nobody's at the beach.
But we really should have some type of policy, right? Outlining what our goals would be or what our guidelines would be for people that,
Yep.
you know, inevitably like that hot dog one from last year and stuff.
And what I had suggested last week, which we would have trouble implementing for this year, would be actually doing some sort of RFP for
Right.
service in and
That's
around
right.
beach areas,
Right.
so that there is a benefit to us, and it is
Mhm.
not simply someone that does not have brick and mortar coming and
Yep.
Right.
deriving a professional or a business benefit
Right.
without something to the community. It would also give us a better opportunity to make sure that if there are multiple folks there, it's not sort of first one into the
Right.
spot. It's that we can come up with
A
a
rotation.
process where there's a
Right,
rotation.
some type of
in place.
guidelines, yeah.
Right.
I found it interesting, and I asked Shannon this a couple days ago. I was just trying to understand, generally, you know, when you go to the farmer's market, you don't have to have a hawker's license,
No.
right? It's just,
You don't.
it's embedded
Right, just
within.
buy a table or whatever,
Right,
yeah.
right. And then I'm thinking, okay, are the recreation events the same,
No.
or do they require?
I think they require a hawker's license, and like if it's a food vendor, there's a whole separate set of
Right, right.
requirements.
But so the farmer's market is its own kind of
Entity.
unique entity.
Mhm.
And so anything outside of that, this would cover as the hawker
Yes,
peddler?
I-
Yeah.
I didn't know if
yeah.
that was a statement or a question, I'm
Right, so
sorry.
the farmer's
Question.
market,
It was-
so that when you're serving food at the farmer's market, you have to file certain, rules and regulations
Health.
from the Board of Health.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Does it
Okay.
thoroughly answer your question?
Thoroughly.
Great, I love that for us.
Then some.
All right, so this is the consent agenda as amended, removing the minutes. I'll take a motion to approve
Motion to approve.
and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and we will move the minutes to the next meeting. We should be cognizant of how often we're moving the minutes, just so we don't get into a situation.
We wouldn't have had to move the minutes
No.
if I had them.
That's fine,
So-
but we move these, I think,
We'll have them,
doesn't
they
matter.
can be approved tomorrow.
I also think we need to set up an executive session to discuss our 6-month review of our withheld executive session minutes. So this is KP's, what is required
Yep.
by us is if we are withholding the minutes under an exemption, we need to review them every 6 months and recertify that exemption. So, like to get that on the books sometime, maybe right after town meeting.
And do you have a preference if that's in person or virtual? Because it would also be useful to give an update on collective bargaining and any outstanding contracts.
I mean, I prefer in person just because I don't have a space in my
Okay.
house to calmly and rationally speak to you guys without my children running around. But happy for anybody else to be virtual if that's their choice.
So we'll coordinate and look for a time that's mutually convenient for everyone, and it would be both. It would be to do that housekeeping on the minutes, but also give the CBA update wherever we are at the date we all get together.
Great. Okay, select board reports.
Can I
and
just
comments.
note one
Oh,
thing
sorry.
too?
Shannon.
So for meeting minutes, it will be these 2 sets, and it will be on the next one for the 15th and the 27th.
Great.
So it'll be 4 sets, but I'm not sure if they can vote
They-
on.
They can't,
We
No.
can't vote on the ones.
None of the
we-
ones
No.
from the meeting.
Can you just separate those out of the consent?
Yes,
yeah,
Okay.
that's not a problem.
we can do it as a separate agenda item as opposed to consent.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Just wanted clarification.
Very good. Select board reports and comments. Oh, so, before we go here, select board liaisons.
I was gonna ask.
What generally we have done in the past is Shannon, if you could send a list out of the currently held liaison positions, the ones that are open now because Doug and David no longer hold them. What I would ask from each of the select board members is to get back to Shannon, maybe your top 3 that you would like to participate in. We will do our best to accommodate everybody's top 1, hopefully top 2, maybe top 3, depending on how, the dice rolls. My request for the boards and committees that I were on this year, because I took the chair role and it was a lot of work to take on the chair role, I was less available for the boards and committees I was on. So I would ask that I rotate so that they are not getting the short end of the stick again next year, and that some other non-chair member is taking them on. And that I can certainly look to some of the boards and committees that don't meet as frequently and don't have as great of a ask, like Andrews Chapel and things like that. Like, I'm happy to still be a part of that, and Poet Laureate, because that's sort of spurned from something that I took on, so that's fine. But would just ask that we try to respect the boards and rotate in somebody who's a little bit more able to be more engaged than I was last year on the boards and committees I was on. So Shannon, if you wouldn't mind, or
Yep.
like if you would mind.
So you'll see a list of who was on it,
Yep.
and then who opening.
Yeah, just so you have all the information when you're ranking, like, for example, if I've been, if Danielle's been rec for however long, and rec's your number one, and like, we'll try to do the best we can to rotate around. But want to make sure that every board and committee is getting like the best person for them out of the five of us.
And to that end too, I guess we need to look at members' terms expiring on each committee.
Yes, that's also.
Because that'll come up end of June, so we need to know if there are any open seats, or, each committee, who's expiring, if a reappointment.
Have the boards been notified?
So it is a work in progress right now. My hope is that on the 17th, you're going to have it a lot sooner than that for June to know which ones are open. I think I just got 3 who just resigned while sitting here.
I know there's
so-
one on Poet Laureate and
Yes.
one on Concom.
Yep, and then there's a few others that I've gotten as well.
Yep. So,
When are the terms on Con?
one,
Are they a year?
say again?
Are they a year? Is
Oh.
Conservation Commission yearly?
I don't
know.
I think it's 3, 2, 1 maybe.
I'll take a look at what Diane has. She does have a spreadsheet. From her time, though, there's been a lot that have resigned, so it's
Yeah.
just going back and confirming with the chairs of who is still participating.
Yep.
Roughly how many active committees do we have?
Almost 20,
I think there's like over
15 or
20.
so.
Okay.
And I think there's more than that listed on their website.
There's
that are not-
51 listed on the
that are not
website.
active.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah, so many.
So just to let everybody know, I did deactivate that site today. We are hoping to launch something after town meeting. Our focus right now is on town meeting and making sure that it goes off with success. So after town meeting, you'll be seeing something brand new.
And we will have, I think, my vacancy from Harbor
Right.
Waterfront to fill.
Correct. And I did talk to
Likewise,
Leslie
yeah,
today.
yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Great. So that will be on the first June agenda,
Second June.
second June agenda.
June 17th.
Okay. Great. Does anybody have any select board reports or comments?
I do have, a couple things. One is I want to thank Emiliano and Danielle and Joe for running the show tonight. I want to recognize the accident of Kevin Trainer, Trooper Kevin Trainer. And I want to give an update on my committee for retirement committee. Retirement committee had brought in new advisors this year, and their returns on their retirement in the first quarter have been really excellent. So they've also been working to clear up some issues with data entry that affected the police department, and that seems to be working its way through. They're just doing a really great job, and we're on target of being completed by 2031, right? Right, so I think as long
He
as...
doesn't know he doesn't get paid for it anymore. I'm just kidding.
No, he's...
I'm just kidding, I'm just joking.
All right. So also I want to thank Mr. Patsios, Mr. Godfrey for running. That took a lot of work. I mean, we all know what it takes to run in the select board race. And I want to thank Mr. Spritz, Mr. Dooley. I really swear I'm the happiest person at Swampscott that you are here tonight. And I want to thank you, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Danielle, anything?
No, I just want to congrats to Wayne and Ted, and look forward to working with both of you. It's going to be great. I can already feel it, so thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one comment. I in thinking about what I volunteered for in the beginning of this meeting, which was to be chair again, I'm going to try my best to be more, to allow you all to be more helpful this year than last year. It wasn't easy, and I was just learning the ropes about what chair meant and how it worked, and we had a new TA and lots of changes, and so this year I'm hopeful that we can spread this out a little bit, and the burden isn't just mine alone. And in doing so, it will actually prepare all of us to take this role on should we need to. So that's my hope as chair this year, and I'm sure it will be great. And thank you for all entrusting me with that role. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All
And
right. so I
Patrick,
will-
I forgot one thing, Patrick. Congratulations on your contract. I'm glad you're here. You're doing a great job. So, thank you.
All right, shall we motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Can you all see me, because I need